everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Welcome to the Red Hook Town Board meeting of Tuesday, January 13th, 2026. Would you kindly join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. I hope that you had a happy and healthy, probably the most challenging part of that, holiday season. And for the folks at home, wanting to know what we'll be discussing this evening, we have two public hearings. One is related to, or actually both are related to the rehab of the Water District number 1 storage tank. And we actually have a couple of our water board members with us this evening. And we'll start the evening off with that. We then will move on to our annual reorganization meeting, resolution. We'll then address two highway-related matters. We approve the annual expenditures for capital improvements, road improvements. We have our highway superintendent here somewhere. I thought I saw her. Teresa? Oh, there you are. Okay, very good. We'll then move on to a discussion and approval of a new EV cargo van for the highway department. We'll then take up those issues related to the storage tank. We have a resolution approving an amendment to the Fire Protection District agreement with the Village of Tivoli. If you've been following along on many of these issues in previous meetings, the Village of Tivoli and the Tivoli Fire Department met with us and said that they needed additional help. We had initially allocated $250,000 towards the firehouse expansion project. They needed additional help. We explained our time constraints with the ARPA funds that they needed to be expended this year. And so we put our heads together and came up with a plan to provide additional capital line funding to double the support, first of all $500,000, but to do it, pay the debt associated with the borrowing that they're going to ensue. And this way, both the fire department, village, and also the town wouldn't be under the gun, if you will, with time constraints. So it's our hope that we can be moving that forward, because I know that they do want to go out to bid, and that of course is a critical step that they need to take in order to know whether or not they're going to move forward with that project. We're going to discuss, but not likely decide on this year's health insurance policy for the employees. We have a ministerial act to do with assigning a delegate to the Association of Towns Annual Conference. You see your representatives, and by the way, congratulations to our new Ken Migliorelli and Christina Russo. We also didn't get a chance, because of the meeting schedule, to thank our outgoing Julia Solomon and Christine Kane for all of their work over the years, and we'll be seeing, and I'm sure hearing from both of them in the future, so thank you all to them. But the point I was getting to is that we do continuing education each and every year, whether it's remote courses or this annual conference where representatives from all the towns, 900 plus in New York State, convene, and we get up to speed on what the latest and greatest and share our thoughts and ideas with each other. We have a couple of resolutions related to assessments, and then we'll discuss correspondence as it relates to where we are on engineering study and reducing speed limits townwide. With that being said, why don't we very quickly go and do supervisor's report for this month. Folks, all I have is the cash portion. As you know, we continue to accrue expenses throughout January, so you'll get this updated later on in January. But from a cash position, we do this the first meeting of each month. I'll report to the folks that we started with an opening balance of $9,302,000. We had receipts of $3,971,000, disbursements of $2,444,000, with an ending balance of $10,828,000. I won't ask you to accept the supervisor's report because this is the only portion of it that we have for tonight. Deanna, could we quickly do the clerk's report, please?
Do a vote.
What's that? No,
Oh.
I didn't do a vote.
Oh, okay.
It's just the brief portion of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Town clerk's report for the period of December 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2025. Total local shares remitted $8,379.47. Amount paid to New York State Agriculture and Markets for the Spay-Neuter Program, $36. Amount paid to New York State Department of Health for marriage licenses, $45. Amount paid to New York State Comptroller for Games of Chance Bell Jar license, $15. Amount paid to New York State Environmental Conservation for hunting and fishing licenses, $68.03. Total state, county, and local revenues, $8,543.50. And are there vouchers?
There are vouchers.
I hereby certify vouchers numbered 34236 to 34386 totaling $757,194.04 processed in the month of December 2025 are an accurate reporting of the abstracts approved for payment by the town board.
Very good. Thank you very much, Deanna. Is there a motion to accept the clerk's report?
I have a few questions.
Okay.
So looking at this, so we're charging trailer park fees?
Oh, it's the license is, their license is for a year, $15 a year to have a trailer park. It's like a license. Yeah.
So it looks like it's $75 a year to have a trailer.
Where? Oh, I'm sorry.
There's 5.
On my, there are. That's only. There's actually. I think there's 6 parks, but we got paid. I think we did one last month too. Like in November, we had a payment for one.
Can you just explain what that is?
Yeah, I think Deanna just did. There are 5 trailer park fees. There's a $15 annual fee associated, and there's 5 for a total of $75.
For
A full trailer
For a
park.
a park of collective any amount of.
Yes. So the, like for instance, the trailer park up on Mountain View, they pay $15 a year for a license to have the park.
And why do we charge trailer parks?
That's a New York State. It comes from the state.
Is a state mandated fee for trailer parks?
I believe it's I'd have to look that up, but it's definitely a mandated fee to have. It's $15.
It's like a registration.
Yeah. Every year, annually. So I just send out a quick letter and then send them a license with a seal on it once they pay the $15.
Yeah, it seems strange to me that we would be allocating fees towards trailer parks. I'd like to understand more about that.
I'll look into it and give you more information on it.
And then the other thing that stuck out to me was the dog licensing fees.
Yes.
I mean, obviously this is a minority of people that choose to participate in licensing their dogs, but we've got we've got purebreds or discounted fees? Like where do these fees come from?
So the fees are set by New York State. It's the law to license your dog. People should be licensing their dogs in the town of Red Hook. If we only have one purebred license, or I think the purebred license was literally, I think we have one in the whole that we have in our whole.
There's one. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I think we've just done that. That's the one. But usually, if it's unneutered, the dogs are $22 a year, and for spay and neutered dogs, it's $15 a year. And New York State, I think it's $14, and then $1 goes to New York State. So $14 for the town, $1 for the state. It gets split that way, but by New York State.
I'd just like to understand where these fees come from. I'm looking at the report and trying
Oh,
to
I can
understand.
definitely, I'll put something together for you.
Thank you.
Okay. Hearing no other questions, is there a motion to accept the clerk's report? Thank you, Bill. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jacob. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, a couple of quick announcements, and then we'll get to our public hearing. Very good news. The town was awarded a grant that we applied for central sewer. It was the intermunicipal grant. It's a program that the governor, to her credit, created to help support sewer projects that involve more than one municipality. When we created the TND sewer district, the extension of which is from Town Hall, is TND, all the way down to the parcel south of Hannaford, we told the residents and property owners there that we would not move forward likely until we receive some grant funding. We applied for the full amount, 40% of the estimated project cost, and that's these businesses up and down Route 9 on both sides. We've been notified that we're awarded $2.563 million towards what was estimated a couple of years ago as $6.6 million project. If you've been following along in previous meetings, we took some of our ARPA allocation 3-4 years ago. We felt so strongly about helping out the businesses up and down Route 9 that we allocated over $500,000 as well towards that. Together that adds up to nearly $3.1 million towards, again, what was at the time estimated to be $6.6 million. Obviously, when and if we decide to go out to bid, that number could change. So at this point, we've asked the village to take a look at the demand for expansion on their portion. Because the sewer plant, which is modular in nature, to understand whether or not they could begin to design a system short of the full 300,000 gallons a day in order to help us out and start on this process and try to get the construction done before the project costs continue to go up. So really good news there, folks, for 2026. Events, so it's a new year. We'll be having our usual 7 or 8 spring events here in the town. We start off not this upcoming weekend, but the following weekend with our quarterly Red Hook Repair Cafe, hosted as has been now for some time by the community center, 10 to 1. There are lots of items that you can bring and lots of terrific volunteers to help repair these types of items that you have in your house and other things. 10 to 1, that's Saturday, January 24th. And we thank everybody coming here. I think we have a few folks from Barrytown here this evening. You and others may in particular be interested. Next Wednesday night, I've arranged for Dutchess County DPW to come and make a presentation related to the bridge replacement project, which will be in Annandale. That's just south of the Triangle on River Road. And that's 6:30 here at Town Hall. You'll hear about some of the thoughts, changes that they're proposing to make. I believe there's a 3-foot sidewalk on the one side of the bridge. They're talking about potentially having a 5-foot sidewalk on both sides of the bridge there. But you'll find out more. It's here Wednesday night, January 21st at 6:30. And lastly, everybody wants to survey you, and Dutchess County wants to survey you as it pertains to transportation in the county. And it looks like you get a $25 gift card if you do so. And here is the survey itself. You'll need to go online in order to do that. But as we are soliciting your thoughts and ideas town-wide for the comprehensive plan, it would be great to also get your input as it relates to getting around the county, and in particular Northern Dutchess.
Where do you get that?
It's online, Dutchess County. You can Google Moving Dutchess Forward, and this will be on our website, and you can link directly there from our website. This is the hyperlink here. Moving Dutchess Forward is the name of the effort. Okay, with that being said, thanks for your patience. We have our first public hearing, and that is related to the increase and improvement of water district facilities for Red Hook Water District Number 1. Deanna, would you be kind enough to read the public hearing notice?
Notice of public hearing on proposal for an increase and improvement of water district facilities for Red Hook Water District Number 1. Notice is hereby given that the Town Board of the Town of Red Hook, Dutchess County, will meet on the 13th day of January 2026 at 7:35 p.m. prevailing time for the purpose of conducting a public hearing upon a proposal by said Town Board to undertake proposed improvements to the facilities of the Town of Red Hook Water District Number 1 pursuant to Section 202-B of the Town Law as hereinafter described, at which time and place said Town Board will meet to consider such proposition and hear all persons interested in the subject thereof and concerning the same. The Town Board is considering a recommended work plan for improvements to Red Hook Water District Number 1 as described in the preliminary engineering report dated August 2022, as amended June 17, 2023, as further supplemented March 10, 2025, prepared by Ty and Bond Engineering and Landscape Architecture, PC, including the rehabilitation of the existing standpipe at the Kelly Road Water Storage Site, and including original furnishings, equipment, machinery, and apparatus required therefor the project, at an estimated maximum cost of $1,672,600. A portion of such cost in the estimated amount of $400,000 is proposed to be paid from the Water District's existing SW Reserve Fund, and the remaining project cost is proposed to be financed pursuant to the local finance law. Such engineer's preliminary report is on file in the town clerk's office for public inspection. The Town Board has determined that such project, as described in the engineer's report, constitutes a Type 2 action as defined under the State Environmental Quality Review Regulations 6 NYCRR Part 617, which has been determined under SECRA not to have a significant impact on the environment. All interested persons will be given an opportunity to be heard. All reasonable accommodations will be made for persons with disabilities. In such a case, please notify the town clerk in advance at the above address or by phone so that arrangements can be made. By order of the Town Board of the Town of Red Hook, dated December 9th, 2025, Deanna Cochran, Town Clerk, Town of Red Hook.
Thank you, Deanna. And for folks, before we open the public hearing, if you've been following, this agenda item has been discussed now for actually a few years. The Water Board has been back and forth trying to analyze the pros and cons of either replacement or rehabilitation, and has settled, that's my pun for this evening, has settled on rehab as the preferred option under these circumstances, the cost of which is approximately $1.7 million. They propose to take $400,000 out of the reserves. We have also made a request to Bard College to contribute towards the system, since they, on rare occasions, but they do use it as a backup. And so that's sort of the 30-second version of it. I won't ask the Water Board to revisit it, but they are here to answer any question. So with that being said, may we entertain a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Thank you, Christina. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Bill. All in favor? Aye. Would somebody like to speak on this matter?
I have a question. What is it that you're going to rehab on the water tower?
It's the tank itself.
The whole thing, but what are you going to do? Are you going to paint it? Are
It's
you
going to be repainted, exactly.
Just
Did you want to address that question? I know you have previously.
Well,
You don't have to stand up.
that's right. Anyway, like anything else that we own, equipment, whatever, it deteriorates, okay? I was thinking about maybe it's like your automobile. Every once in a while, you have to either fix it up or replace it. And that's what we're going to do with this tank. We have to fix it up. It's really held up very, very well since 1989 when it went online. The paint surfaces are still good, but if we don't repaint it soon, it'll become very, very difficult. And, you know, like anything else, the longer you let things go, the worse the problem. So we decided that given the likelihood of additional major expenses for the water district in the next 15, 20 years, that we preferred to go with the expense of rehabilitating this tank rather than replacing it. The cost of a new tank was over twice as much. It's just the recommendation that we came to, that we were better off rehabilitating this tank with a loan with a cost of $1.6 million or $7 or whatever it's going to be, versus probably a total cost of close to $4 million for a new tank. So that was our recommendation. That is our recommendation, and it's just something that has to be done sooner or later. So
Do you paint the inside of the tank?
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll have to drain the tank, and they clean up the interior of the tank, and you know, clean up all rust spots and little damages, and then put primers on anyway. They repaint it, and while they do that, and probably before they paint, we'll inspect to make sure that the tank is properly cleaned and ready for paint, and then we'll inspect again once or twice during the painting process. So we hope for good weather, because that's important, and that's the way we plan to go.
Thank you.
Okay?
Other questions or comments?
Rich Reinders, Red Hook. On the tank, I get it, the money, you're saying 1.7 million now versus 4 million. So if you possibly get 5, 8, 10 years out of this refurbished tank with what you're calling paint, I'm not sure when you say paint, what you mean by paint. However, in 10 years, what would the cost be then? 15 million? Would it be better off today to pay the 4 million, put a new tank in for something that's already approximately 30 years old, right? Or You said 1989?
Yeah, 89 it went online, yeah.
Okay, so,
Thing is,
so what I'm saying is, money-wise, pay now, put a new tank in now, because 10 years down the road, you might be at 12 million for this tank. The way our economy's going, I mean, that's something to think about. I don't know if it's been tossed around, it's just a suggestion, that's all it is.
we
And while I'm on it, when you say paint, what is this paint?
It's a coating.
I know it's a coating, but
a real high-end coating that we would.
so obviously since '89 it's worn off. Is that getting to our water system? This
No,
so-called
no, but-
paint?
No, so since 1989, we haven't had to coat it at all, which, so when they tell us 10 years for a coating,
Yeah.
we're 30 years and change, and we haven't had to coat it. So we've actually, typically, a good coating is 15 years you can get out of a really good coating.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're hoping for. That's what we pushed. We were back and forth for about 4 years on this decision, whether to get a
No,
new
I understand.
tank.
It's a big decision. I get it. I'm just putting it out there, cost-wise now versus 10 years down the road. What will the cost be? If it was 4 million today, it's going to be 12 million 10 years down the road. That's all. I'm putting out.
that's true. What we're thinking of is not just this loan, paying off this loan, but we have a 60, 70-year-old system. Water mains don't last forever. We're going to have to be repairing and then replacing water mains. We're having some well work done soon, I hope. One of the wells has, the output has deteriorated significantly. So we're going to try to rehab it. If that works, fine. Otherwise, they can drill a new well and whatever. So these extra expenses coming along, we just wanted to keep our current,
I understand.
yeah, that's all.
I was just putting it out there in a different way so that
I agree.
it could be tossed around in the salad that we're
And we
speaking
did.
of here.
Very good. Anyone else for the public hearing? Any comments or questions?
Yeah.
Do we have a public hearing? I mean, can we talk about something else, just like
No, this
this?
is,
Or
this is a
you'll-
public hearing on this matter.
And then you'll have,
We'll have
public-
public comments later
Okay.
tonight.
all right, good.
I mean, Robert, I don't know how you want to conduct the meeting. I have questions that I think are relevant to what the public is saying. I don't know how you want to conduct your meeting, but like, if
We're here to hear from the public. It's a public hearing on this matter. The agenda item is related to the water tank rehab.
How
So is
long
there anybody?
will the bond be for?
The bond will be for 15 years. Yeah. The bond, that's the maximum that we can borrow for this length of term, for this type of project.
And you need to borrow for this even though the town has lots of money?
This is only funded by the users, just, again, folks, and I realize not everybody's been here for all these other meetings, this is a water district cost. The only folks that pay for this are the users, the ones, it's referred to as a special benefit assessment district, which means that there is a benefit that accrues to those who get to use the water, and they're the ones who pay for the cost. It's not the town-wide who pay for this additional.
but I think that related to the questions that I've heard, and I've listened to the previous discussions on this topic, so there was an analysis in 2017 and in 2022.
Mhm.
So what I would like to understand is what was the decision that was made after both of those reviews as to why it wasn't maintained at those periods.
Well, first of all, there was no immediate need at those times. We looked ahead and knew we were going to have to refurbish or replace sometime in the future, but there was no real target time. And we reached a point last year, well, I think we reached a point where we realized that we really have to rehabilitate now or forget about it. Because if we let it go, the repainting, the rehab is just going to be too difficult and probably not as long-lasting. So we chose to go with the rehab now and try to avoid the accumulation of multiple large debts for the other work that's going to have to be done.
And when you look at a rehab versus a replacement, there's first costs, there's second costs, and there's third costs that are evaluated, right? So your second costs are your maintenance, and your third costs are your replacement. And so, was it looked at as to like where that crossed over into where it crossed over into validating?
We looked out about 40 years, okay? And in that 40 years, we would have to rehab probably twice and be ready for another rehab. At that time, the cost of a new tank appeared to be better than the cost of the multiple rehabs.
Okay.
So then why,
We'll have it, sorry. Carrie, did you have a
So-
question?
you just said the cost of a new one would be more cost effective than.
If you
a-
look out 40 years, and that's
Okay.
just a guess, you know.
Okay, so that a new tank in 40 years would be a better deal than a couple of rehabs. You just said that, but yet we were gonna go for a rehab, right? That,
We were concerned,
Yeah, we were at a bare minimum of a 40-year payback. A 40-year payback on a system.
and we know we're going to have
And
additional
we have other
expenses.
costs of, if we were to spend the money now on a new tank, we would have no money to do any other repairs in our system. So we'd be very vulnerable in our water district. So that was part of why we didn't
okay, and so,
proceed with that.
the new tank eked out 2 rehabs, but it gives you, it's more cash friendly now to do a rehab.
Yes, it definitely is. And it's better loan repayments for all of us,
Got it,
okay?
yeah. So even though if you had the money, you'd get a new tank right now. Because the 40-year payback is better.
Not necessarily.
Oh, I thought you just said that.
You did.
I'm not sure. You know, it's,
Oh, you did say that, but
Okay.
you're not sure. Okay, I heard
Yeah.
that said, so,
Gary,
It's
one
this-
thing that hasn't been said here is that the mains, it costs about $1 million right now for a mile to replace a main. 80 years is about as far as you can go.
he explained that they.
Yeah, but we're gonna have those are coming.
I get it.
And so you need to have, as Evelyn said, you need to have the
I
cash
understand,
ability
right
to
now, if you
replace
don't
that.
have the cash, then, but, you know, he did say that a 40-year payback was better with a new tank, but because of these other expenses, you don't have the cash on hand to do it, even
That's-
though it would be better to do.
well,
Or
that's
maybe
our,
better.
that's our
And
guess.
The
Right.
40-year payback
Yeah, I
that
hear
we're
you.
talking about is like a worst-case scenario. It means we have to paint it every 10 years. And we've already gone 40 years for 30-something
so-
years without painting
All
it
right,
one
I was
time,
just
so we
responding
may
to
not
what you
paint
said,
it
but maybe
again
that's
for
not
30
true.
years.
I-
It might really be a 100-year payback.
Everyone's guessing,
Exactly.
right,
That's
So
the
I
it's-
got it.
When you decide on your car deal,
Yeah, I
You
know.
go back
I keep
and
my,
forth,
my
right?
car's
You-
21 years old,
you just
so
don't
I
know.
get it.
Anyway, that's the way it is. We made our recommendation. We thought we were making the best
I
recommendation.
hear you.
Who knows?
Another question, Emily?
How many people does this water district serve? Is it Village of Red Oak or
No.
Town of Red Oak?
The town of Red Oak, it's basically the old Linden Acres and College Park subdivisions. That's
Okay.
that's it.
So how many residents?
Uh,
would you say,
How many
houses?
residents?
There's 488 connections, and 5 of those are to the town park, Red Park.
Yeah, so 500 connections, 2 people, 3 people per home, your guess, okay?
And can you explain the connection to BART?
Oh, that's, when we built the tank, this current tank, Bard College was in trouble with water. They had inadequate supply, they had no storage, and they suggested that they would contribute half the cost of a new tank, given that we could connect to them and they would use that storage tank as they needed it. And for the first 20 years, they did use our water a lot. In 2000, I think 2016, they redid their water supply. Okay, so since then, they use us on an emergency basis rather than on a regular basis. But they contributed because they needed the additional water, the storage and the water.
And so is somebody currently negotiating with Bard about their contribution to this?
Somebody sitting at your
Situation.
table here.
That's an ask has been made of Bard College. They are going to take that up at their meeting later in the month to get approval for a contribution. We hope that they would consider something substantive, at least 25%. Now granted, they barely use the water, but still as a backup, that's an important thing to them.
And I understand the village is also a backup. There's a portion of the village or part of the village that's connected with this water supply.
Yes, did you want to talk about the
The
interconnection?
village and the town water district have a connection on Willowbrook Lane, just north of the village. Problem is that our storage tank, the height is not high enough to provide adequate pressure for the village. The village can provide water to us, but it doesn't work. It should have, but it wasn't adequately planned, I guess. So we cannot provide the village with water unless we pump. We'd have to install pumps.
Okay.
Hey, I got,
Any more questions related, again, once to the rehabbing of the tank?
Hey, I got one question.
Yeah.
By no means am I a water expert, paint expert, or a steel expert. I know you've had divers in there, you've done assessments from the exterior. The question I have, do you feel that the company or, the outfit that's going to be addressing this situation, let me say this, sometimes you get into things, it's more advanced than what you anticipated. Is there a point where they'll be honest with you and say, you know what, maybe we can't rehab this tower because we got into it and it's too far?
What do you think, Evelyn?
I don't think we're gonna have a problem with it.
I don't think so either.
It's hard to know until
The
you get
tank
into
has
it.
been inspected every 5 years, okay, interior and exterior. And the most recent inspection showed that we're in pretty good shape. There was very little damage inside the tank. So it's relatively clean in terms of redoing it and repainting it.
Typically, they would have to do like, you'd even have pretty extreme pitting, we would have to do a resurfacing on it before we would do a coating, which they plan to do some of that, but there isn't an extreme amount of pitting in this case.
We're in good shape.
Worst, even if it gets past pitting, you can still weld in new steel plates, but we're not in a situation where we need any of that. But at least that's what the last divers report showed.
In the last 2 or 3, the last report was barely worse, didn't show much additional deterioration from the previous one. We're in good shape.
Lisa?
What is the anticipated assessment rate for users in the district with and without a BARD contribution?
We haven't run the analysis, and again, I want to remind folks what we are entertaining tonight is the authorization to approve going out to bid and the financing. So every bond resolution you'll see in any municipality, your resolution has to state the total cost of the project, maximum, and the total maximum borrowing. And so when and if we're discussing Tivoli Firehouse again tonight, and we're also talking about water storage tank, when and if you go out to bid, you get those bids, then you really truly understand what that cost is, and you contract with that entity to deliver that service or that construction project for that price. The Water Board has recommended that once we understand the difference between what we will have from both Bard College and the $400,000 coming out of the reserves, because the water district has approved reserves, that we look at a combination of raising rates and an assessment, so that it's not a large hit, but it's also not a large increase to the water rates.
And who's talking to Bard College? Like, what's that look like?
The request has, I've made a request of Bard College to make a contribution. We have an agreement, by the way, with Bard College to provide water, so if we're not happy with the contribution, we don't necessarily have to continue to serve Bard College as a backup source. We've had no issue. They don't seem to have a problem with making a contribution. Let's see what that is.
But we don't,
And that's all
at
we
this
know.
date, we don't know what that looks like.
We don't at this stage know what that looks like. That's correct.
The thing is, they really need us, okay? They don't need us often, but when they need us, they need us. And for example, last January, they were hooked into our system for 3 or 4 weeks, using us full-time. Luckily, their student population was low at that time. But they do need us, okay? They have fire protection, for one thing. You know, if they need fire protection, they don't have adequate storage to provide water. They need us. So they will contribute.
Yeah. Okay. Folks, if there are no other comments at this time, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'd like to continue the public hearing if we don't know what Bard is contributing.
Okay, well, with or without the contribution, we do need to move forward with the project. We have some time issues. Hank, do you want to address that? Because we need the project conducted, you've advised.
We really need to get going. We want to put out a request for proposals soon, early this year. We'd like to get the painting, the project done in the summer, early summer, not late summer. Weather is a concern, okay? So the sooner we get it done, the better, and we'll just do what we can.
Well,
So what's our sense with-
I
excuse
strongly
me?
recommend that we go for the new tank. For what I've done for a living for the last 40 years, I suggest a new tank. If the town fishes for some more money, go for the new tank, because what you're doing is a great idea, but it's a short-term fix. Go for the new tank. That's my suggestion.
We've agreed with that. Anyway.
Okay. Can you speak to just the timing of, because we've got several steps that we have to conduct, Evelyn, and
So,
if we're
I
gonna try to
mean,
do this this year.
with or without Bard, we need the water tank, right? People who live there, Bard doesn't want to do it, we still have to have drinking water and take showers, whether Bard wants to contribute or not. So the Bard thing, I understand, is important to us all from a cost saving standpoint, but we still need the water. That's one thing. As far as the timing goes, we still have to, we get an agreement here, we still have to get bid documents put together for this, get a bid out on the street, takes a month to bid. We would be lucky to get this out by, the June time frame to try and get them into construction. Ideally, you don't want to paint when it's super humid, so you sort of want to try to get in there before the humid season or after the humid season, so either way, we're sort of, running up against it to get out to bid and move forward with the project.
I understand wanting to know all the details, costs, and so on and so forth, but we're not going to know until we go out to bid, and I don't want to, the inspection seems to suggest that the tank's in good shape, but I don't think we should lose a year, which is really what it would mean if we delay to wait to find out what a contribution is, which is...
What do you mean a year? But how would we wait a year? We meet every 2 weeks.
We do meet every 2 weeks, but if we don't have an answer until February and we lose the bidding process...
But that was why I asked the
develop
question, was
kind
who is, so Bard is a big, for me looking at this and looking at the financials, Bard is a big piece of it, and that's an unknown. And so before I'm ready to take a vote on this, I would like to know what that looks like. And I think that that's part of the public process, so I don't feel comfortable closing the public hearing until we know what BART is contributing.
How come we don't know how much BART is contributing already?
Because BART has not met with their board and made the request and done the appropriation. I
When were
would
they
add,
asked?
please, let me finish, answer your question. The decision to move forward happened only a few months ago. BART appropriates its money on a different calendar year than we do. So it's not in the budget because they haven't been asked for a contribution yet, because the water board was still determining how it wanted to proceed.
So how do we find a solution to making sure that this is, I mean, the points that were made were valid. I mean, you can only paint a tank in certain months of the year. So there's, if it needs to be fixed this calendar year, there's a time clock that we're in January, and we meet twice a month. So I don't see a rush in coming to a decision. I see a rush in getting information so that we have completeness and we can make a decision as soon as possible. So a question I would ask is like BART is clearly a part of this. How do we get that done?
Well, I don't have an answer for you because I don't know how BART works and appropriates their monies. All I know is that we have an agreement with BART that will have to be renegotiated, and it will be to service them with water, and it'll be based upon what type of contribution they make as they did historically.
What happened?
Excuse me, please. I think that was answered. They made a capital contribution 39 years ago when the tank was built of 50%. Back
How
then,
much percent? I just didn't hear you, Robert, because you're never talking to your mic.
No.
I think Hank reiterated, as he has in previous meetings, that Bard College contributed 50% of the capital cost of construction, because back then they were using the water a lot, and that was part of the agreement, is that they would pay for half of the cost of this storage tank. They've been asked to contribute $400,000 towards this rehabilitation of the tank. And they will have to meet with their board and appropriate those monies and figure out how they're going to do it, because they've already conducted their budget for the year. So they will need to figure out how to make whatever contribution they feel is appropriate. They could alternatively just upgrade their facilities and not need to rely on us as a backup. It has been a mutually beneficial arrangement, from what I'm told by the water department, because we do receive a revenue based upon usage from Bard College.
And to me that sounds beautiful, but critical path would be understanding what Bard's contributing before we close a public hearing and allocate funds towards this that are taxpayer funded.
Okay, I understand that balance. That's a difficult balance to make, but I also don't want to wait. I think we also heard about waiting.
So my question to you, Robert, is who is communicating with Bard, and how do we bring that to a conclusion?
I think I've answered that the request has been made at Bard, and I made the request, came out of my office, $400,000 or 25% contribution, and Bard has said that they are meeting with their board to discuss what contribution, and it may not happen for weeks, we may not hear for a couple of months. I mean, I don't know the answer to when we would hear back from Bard, because I'm not privy to those things. I do know what the water department.
It sounds like that we need to repair a relationship with Bard if this is critical, and that they're part of this water tank, and if that's critical to them, then we need to establish a relationship with them that offers a solution
We have
in a time frame that works for our constituents.
Okay. Christina, we have a very good relationship with Bard College. They've offered to make a contribution, and they need to go through the proper process like we do to allocate. And so that is what they are doing. We'll hear back from them. We've heard from the water department, regardless of what that amount of contribution is, we need to move forward. Again, the resolutions in front of us have maximum numbers. They don't have minimum numbers associated with it. And so we're hearing that there's a timing issue. I don't want to lose a year. As we've heard from other people in the audience, as time marches on, sometimes the costs march on. We have spent 4 years, the Water Board has, and we have in public meetings discussing this. And so I understand. I too would prefer to have that number, I can assure you. But I don't want the people of the water district to have to wait and pay more in an ensuing year because we didn't have a contribution figure. We also don't have the actual amount once we go out to bid, but yet here we are looking at and hopefully entertaining resolutions to move forward because we need to maintain the tank. So I do want to make sure we get all the public comments. Linda, please.
You have a Bard employee right sitting on the board, so why doesn't he become the spokesperson? He's there every single day working.
Yeah.
If there's a matter involving my employer, I would recuse myself from that matter.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Carrie, and then we're going to take a couple more comments, and then we're going to entertain. Go ahead.
So, I mean, say you say, okay, let's move forward with bids, and then say you find out that Bard says, you know what, we don't want to do 400,000, and the bids come in more. Is there another public comment here before you vote to move ahead with this?
This is only an authorization to allow us to possibly move forward so that we can develop the bids, we can develop the specs, go out to bid. If we don't like the bids or we don't like where the money stands, or if it exceeds the authorization, and we have put those 2 figures that I've told you, that we do in every resolution, then we can just reject them and we can go back and do it again. Okay?
Okay, but you didn't answer my question. My question is, once all of this information, how much Bard is paying, blah, 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 will there be another period for the public to say, hey, we like this or we don't like this? Is there another, like, we could close this public comment period as long as there's another one when the facts come in. So would there be? Will there be?
Yes, there will be, because there are other stages along the way where we have to award. And so you can come back and say, I don't think you should be awarding because you don't have enough funding. The implications of awarding, I don't think you should move forward. I think you should go and you should do a new tank. You can say all of those things. But until we take these steps, we can't get one of those key data points.
I want to be assured that there is another period down the road before money is allocated in which the public can comment when there's more information. And that will happen, yeah?
I think that's a great point, and that so we understand what the total cost is because we've had consulting engineers estimate what the total cost of the situation is. And the unknown is how much Bard is contributing, which could be significant. So the question is, should the public comment period be closed? And Robert, I'm looking at you for affirmation, like, should the public comment be closed while this is an open item? And I think everyone is trying to understand what the metrics are of what that looks like. So
I do think, if you're asking me a question, I do think it's important that we move forward. We're hearing from our water board that we move forward in part because we need to get perhaps the most important number, which is going out to bid. How much is somebody or a firm willing to conduct the work for? We can't answer your net question until we have the gross question.
And what would be the benefit of closing the public hearing tonight?
is that we will not be authorizing them to go ahead and move forward, and so there will be a delay. We don't know how long that delay will be. We don't know when we're going to hear back from BART.
So they can't authorize until
So
the
we
public
can't
comment is here.
move forward and get the information.
But on the contrary, if we do close the public hearing tonight, then we restrict ourselves to,
We don't restrict ourselves to anything because we don't have to accept
we don't have a
the
time
bid.
frame in which we're supposed to act.
We don't close the public.
Oh.
If we close the public hearing tonight, does that start a time clock in which the matter has to be closed?
You know, I can only speak for myself. It's my desire that we not only close the public hearing, but we start to move forward with this project so we can get the information, and then we can take a look once the
No,
bid's in.
that's not my question. My question is, if we choose to close the public hearing tonight without knowing what BART is going to contribute, does that or does that not start a time clock in which the matter has to be closed?
No, it does not. It's not like a zoning. It's not like a zoning matter.
It's unlimited.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay. Good question.
Okay, anything else in the public hearing before we?
Just one quick question. Will
Roxanne?
you be getting estimates for a new tank and the refurbishing?
We
so
have
can-
already done that, and I'm sorry, I apologize. I know you're all asking these questions. Again, I just want to remind you, this has been on the agenda for nearly 4 years. We have had broad discussions.
But you're putting this out to bid. Are you putting it out to bid for both?
Yeah, now it's.
We are not putting it out to both.
4 years after.
We have had estimates. Did you want to address?
Let me just mention, Ty and Bond put together an estimate cost for both approaches, rehabbing and replacing.
Yes.
So we've had those numbers, okay?
Yes.
Numbers for replacing just as good as the numbers for rehab. They're best guess, educated guesses. So we've had numbers.
And sir, yes, I reviewed them, but part of my issue is that if BART isn't involved, then the tank would be smaller, then the circumstances would be different, then the engineering would shift. So
I agree, yes.
it's all kind of one movement.
That's true, it's all tied together.
The tank height is kind of determined by a pressure zone in the district that's outside of BART. So the height of the tank wouldn't matter. I suppose you could make a narrower tank
Yes.
of some sort, but
Yes. Our original plans, back in the 1980s, were to have a tank, the height of the current tank, but smaller in diameter. We could still do that if BART did not join us. But that
we
means,
estimated that tank too, and it was somewhere quite a bit more money than painting the tank.
I think Robert is correct that this is an authorization to proceed to the next step. And if the next step is not appropriate, we just have to change our plans. We would have to decide probably to use this tank and run it into the ground and then replace it. Because the longer we wait, the less feasible is the rehab approach. So we want to proceed step by step, and I think that's where we are.
Emily,
I just have a question. You've been saying, and you've repeated it, that you have worked on this project for 4 years. And it sounds like, Robert, you just contacted BART last week and asked for $400,000. Like, that's the feeling I'm getting anyway, because it sounds like you sent a letter, you're like, hey, they already finished their fiscal year, so we're kind of hoping on a Hail Mary here for $400K. I'm surprised that they wouldn't have said we are going to pledge X amount towards this project, especially if it's something that you all have been very concerned with for 4 years. Like, has BART been contacted about this within the last 4 years, or has it just been recently that they are on the...
We haven't had a specific plan, okay? We knew we were going to have to do something, but we hadn't really decided. We hadn't made a solid recommendation to the town board. They hadn't decided. It was last year that we decided it's time to go, and then it was time to talk to BART.
So it's been a little, about a year that Bard has known that we need these funds.
It's more than that.
Okay.
As I said, the water department only a few months ago decided which approach that they thought would be better, given, and I think you all know this in Tivoli, anticipation of other infrastructure expenses coming down the pike. They're looking to incorporate their thinking with that distribution system that may need substantial repairs.
But but to Emily's point, I'm trying to understand why we're looking at 4-year-old engineering and trying to make a decision before our meeting in 2 weeks and close a public hearing. Like, my suggestion would be leave the public hearing open, let's negotiate with Bard, let's get all the information, and then we'll make a decision in an appropriate manner.
It's not 4-year-old engineering.
I'm just thinking that people don't understand the process of the bidding process and needing to have an authorization to go out to bids to understand how much money you have to spend. You have to know how much money you have to spend in order to ask for money. So I think people don't quite understand that this is only an authorization to go out for bids. That's it. It's not to do the project.
And it can be changed later.
Yes, it can all be
It can be
changed.
changed later.
Yes.
He's trying to pressure us.
This is just authorization.
This does not, yes, we have no ability to move forward with rehabbing the tank until we take these steps. And I think we've heard from the water department, we need to take these steps regardless of whether Bard contributes $1 or $1 million. We need to go ahead and do that. How that affects the contract moving forward with Bard to provide water to them in a backup situation or not, obviously there'll be impact on that. So there's not a contract renewal in front of us to understand what the implication on their per gallon fees are. So with that being said, if there are no other comments, I would like to make a motion to close the public hearing, understanding your concerns about it. Christina, thank you for your contribution to that, but also understanding the time constraints and the desire of the water department, and that we have been discussing these alternatives for quite some time. So who would like to make a motion to close the public hearing? Bill?
I will.
Okay. I will second that motion. Is there further discussion?
My vote is nay.
Okay, all in favor? There's a nay. Jacob?
Aye.
Myself?
Jacob has to recluse himself, he already said that earlier.
Please, folks.
Yeah.
This is not a Bard related matter. Please don't
Well, it
interrupt.
sort of is,
There's
because you don't know.
Emily, I'm going to ask you to please not interrupt. We don't interrupt it for a meeting. With Bill, your vote? Ken? Thank you very much. Okay, we have, and I apologize for those of you waiting for the Village of Tivoli, the amendment to the contract. Deanna, would you be kind enough to read that public hearing notice?
Notice of public hearing, Town of Red Hook. Please take notice that a concurrent public hearing will be held by the Town Board of the Town of Red Hook on January 13th, 2026 at 7:40 p.m. local time at the Town Hall, 7340 South Broadway, Red Hook, New York, to hear all interested persons regarding a proposed amendment to Fire Protection District Fire Service Agreement between the Town of Red Hook and the Village of Tivoli for 2025 and 2026. Such agreement relates to the existing Red Hook Fire Protection District, embracing the territory outside the villages of Red Hook and Tivoli. All interested persons will be given an opportunity to be heard. All reasonable accommodations will be made for persons with disabilities. In such a case, please notify the town clerk. Please take further notice that copies of said proposed agreement are available for review at the Town Hall, Red Hook, New York. By order of the Town Board of the Town of Red Hook, dated December 9th, 2025, Deanna Cochran, Town Clerk, Town of Red Hook.
Very good. And what the amendment is to change the capital line of the Tivoli Fire Service Agreement with the town to $60,748. I'll get to that in a moment. We did in the budget initially have this as the tentative budget. We then, if you recall, Jacob and Bill, who were here, We then changed it to 53,000 and put the additional 7,000 in the operations line because we assumed, given the time frame, that the Village of Tivoli would not be going out to do borrowing until probably second quarter of 2026, so that you would only have accrual of debt associated with the $500,000 starting on or about April. And it looks like you're tracking at the very least April and maybe even later for your borrowing. You have not yet gone out to do bids yet, from what I understand, but you're waiting, from what I understand, you're waiting for us to change this contract so that your funders, your other funders, can see our commitment in order to do that. And so I will get there. I know I will get there. Okay, at this time, and I'll get it up on the screen, I'd like to make a motion that we open that public hearing to make the amendment. We also would have to then approve a budget adjustment to take that 7,000 and put it back in the capital line so that their funding partners can see that we are committing at that level ongoing. And then if for some reason you don't move forward with the project, you would still have the $60,000 in there. There's no shortage, from what I understand, of capital needs for the Village Tivoli Fire Department equipment and so on and so forth. Moving forward, you'd be able to use it for that for 2026. It's a reimbursable amount, folks, just so you know. Okay, and there it is, and I apologize. Motion to open the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Okay. Who would like to speak on this matter?
Yeah, I would just, Deputy
Bill,
Mayor.
Go to the mic. Okay, go to the mic.
Bill, if you'd be kind enough to come to the mic and just state your name, please.
Bill Schilling, Deputy Mayor, Tivoli, and this is a very important piece of Tivoli's ability to get a new firehouse and to serve the town and the village. So it's very important that you guys are able to move this forward, and I want to thank you on behalf of the village. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate it. And as I say to the fire departments each year, this is the easy part. It's not always easy finding the money, but it's the easy part because you all answer the calls at 2 o'clock in the morning when most of us are asleep and doing what is really an incredible service for this community. Without local volunteer fire departments, the finances of your small municipality would look very different. So to all of you who serve, for all of you that help in these efforts, getting grants for supporting the fire departments in any way, thank you. Okay. Anyone else want to speak about it? I think you'll all join me in, Sarah, thank you.
Hey, Sarah Bowden. I'm also a village trustee in Tivoli. And I want to thank you for bringing this matter before your board. You know, you've said before that you know, it sounded like you didn't really want to go over some of the details of the previous project, but the thing about public meetings that is both a tiresome thing, but also a really important thing is that because we serve the public and the public doesn't always come to every meeting or watch every meeting on Candace, sometimes you have to go over some pretty obvious things. So I'm just going to state for the record a couple of things. So I want to say the mayor would have been here, but she had to be away on family travel. So I'm bringing, Emily's thanks as well as mine and the rest of the boards. And I want to say, the thing about Tivoli's fire department that's special is that our department is a municipal, it's a village fire department, which means that it's very closely entwined with the village government. Compared to the Red Hook Fire Company, which is a private company, it's a different contract process. Because of that, it means that a lot of our fire company is supported, or one might think it was supported because it's a Tivoli Fire Company by the Village of Tivoli. But our fire department, and maybe some of you will speak to this, I don't know, it's small but mighty, right? And it's actually not very small. It's one of the largest and most vibrant in the area. And so it makes a lot of sense that the town is going to support through a contract, as you've laid out here, not just our expansion, but also just the fire service in general that is provided, because it's provided way beyond the borders of the village of Tivoli. So I just want to point those things out because I think it's important to state it for the record. And I just want to say thank you to all the Tivoli Fire Department volunteers that are here tonight and who aren't here tonight, and to Mark for his, Mark Hildenbrand for his leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Other comments related to this public hearing? Okay, very good. At this time, I would like to entertain a motion to close this public hearing. In fact, I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bill. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank
Aye.
you very much. Okay. And I imagine we'll be back next year talking about the operating budget line, because there's probably some needs there as well. And probably talking about the Red Hook Fire Department and their capital need, because there will be some needs there as well. Okay, very good. Why don't we do we think we can take the water board action? Can we do that and jump around the agenda a little bit, folks? Is that something we can let Hank go home at a reasonable hour? Would that be all right? And jump back to public comments after that?
Sure.
Is that okay? Okay, so I would like to go ahead and go to agenda item number 4. This is a resolution. What number would that be, Deanna?
Number 1?
It's true. Thought I would catch you there, but no. Approving, sorry. The first resolution related to this is resolution order after public hearing approving a water facilities improvement project for the Water District Number 1 pursuant to Section 202B of the town law, whereas the town board of the town of Red Hook, the county of Dutchess, on behalf of the Water District, requested that TMB Engineering, duly licensed in the state of New York, prepare a report. The report dates back to 2022 and updated in 2023. There was a tank inspection in 2024 and a sediment removal project in 2024. And a further report update was made in March of 2025 describing the rehab project and providing an opinion of probable cost, which is deemed to be approximately $1,672,600. The engineer completed such report and filed the same with the town board, and the town board thereafter adopted an order describing in general the terms of the proposed improvement of facilities, specifying the estimated total cost thereof, and stating that the town board would meet to hear all persons, which we have today. Under seeker, we deemed it a type 2 action, and the town board and the town have complied in every respect with all applicable federal, state, and local laws under seeker, comprising Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law. Now therefore be it resolved by the town board of the town of Red Hook, on the basis of the information given at such hearing, it is hereby determined that it is in the public interest to improve the facilities of the district, as hereinabove described and referred to at the estimated total cost of $1.672 million. It is hereby ordered that the facilities of the district shall be so improved. Definite plans, specifications, and a careful estimate of the expense of the improvement are hereby directed to be prepared, and the attorneys for the town are hereby directed to assist in the preparation of a proposed contract and to submit the same to this town board for examination and approval. This resolution shall take place immediately. Who would like to move this resolution?
Well, as the liaison to the water board, I would.
Okay, very good, Bill. Who would like to second that?
Well, could we talk about it for a second? So just to understand what the mechanics of what we're doing here.
Christina, if I may, just, and you'll get this with the newly elected train. It's a motion and then a second, and then there's discussion in between the second and the vote. Okay.
Thank you.
No worries. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jacob. Okay. Now, further discussion on the matter. Christina?
So this is a 1.7 contract. We have 400,000, and we're looking for a $1.3 million loan. I want to make sure that I'm understanding correctly.
That's in rough terms.
In rough terms, correctly.
Correctly, yes.
And then do we have reserves if it's more than 1.7?
The $400,000 is moved from the reserves and has been allocated and was so at a previous meeting, just a couple of meetings ago. We appropriated those monies from the reserves. So that's how it gets down to $1.3 million. Yeah, and so once we develop the specs, we go out to bid, we get the amount of the project that we will contract. At that point, we should know, hopefully, from Bard College what their contribution is. But as far as assessing the water district, the budget has already been determined, whether it's the fire district or the water district or the townwide taxes or a town village tax portion as well. That has already been determined for 2026. So when the finances are finalized on this project and a determination is made on how much will be an assessment versus how much will be recouped by the increase in the water rates, that will be done for 2027. When you borrow in a particular year, you don't actually make payments, whether it's a bond anticipation note or a bond on the same year that you borrow. It's very different than when you get a mortgage for your house and you do that in a month. You borrow, it's a 12-month bond anticipation note or a multi-year bond, serial bonds, and you pay the following year. So we will know all the numbers.
Well, I mean, to me that's understood. I actually do this every day. So this is the engineer's probable cost. So their total came out at 1.207. They added a 20% contingency, which is reasonable for construction costs. So that came out at 1.449. And then on top of that, we have soft costs, engineering costs, and that's getting us to 1.7.
That's correct. Yeah. Anything more? Any others? Any additional discussion? Okay. If not, I would like to have a roll call on the vote, please. All in favor? Kenny?
Aye.
William?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Jacob?
Aye.
Christina? Thank you very much. We have the follow-up resolution to that. Which would be resolution number 2. Authorizing the increase an improvement of water district facilities for water district number 1 at an estimated maximum cost, $1.672 million, with a borrowing aggregate principal amount not to exceed $1.272,600,000. And this is the bond authorization resolution. Who would like to move this? Number 2 of 2026.
As the liaison to the water district, I will move this too.
Okay, and I'd be happy to second it. And I want to thank you all on the water board. For the folks at home, we have a lot of dedicated volunteers and a lot of committees, and they really make things happen for this community. We are very fortunate. We have a lot of people with a lot of expertise on our water board. I think it's really unusual. Their background, if you knew what they did for a living and their history and their expertise, we really benefit from that. Even when it's a difficult weighing of the rehab versus replace. And if anybody has that crystal ball, please let us know. We'd like to borrow it. All right. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion, further discussion on it? Resolution number 2. If not, it's a bond resolution. Like that, or roll call. All in favor? Kenny?
Aye.
William? Myself? Aye. Jacob?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Okay, and thank you all. Is Tivoli still here? Did they leave?
Yeah, we're all here.
You're all here.
The village left, fire department's here.
Good. Okay, well look, can we quickly do that so that the fire department, I already heard a little bit of something there. Can we do that quickly and let's get to public comments? I also don't want the public to have to wait much longer, but we do have resolution number, can we call it 3 on the fire department, please? And folks, I want to just ask you to please, you'll notice in your packet there is that $7,000 now that needs to move back from operating to capital, so that we can show their funding partners that the capital line is $60,748. Could I ask you to please entertain that budget approval, please?
Are you making a motion?
I'm making a motion, please. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jacob. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Christina, thank you very much. Okay. Resolution number 3, approving amendment number 1 to the Town of Red Hook Fire Protection District Fire Service Agreement between the Town of Red Hook and the Village of Tivoli for 2025 and 2026. Whereas proposed terms of an amendment entitled Town of Red Hook Fire Protection District Amendment Number 1 to the Fire Service Agreement. We do 2-year fire agreements, by the way. We contract for fire services, the town. This is the 2nd year, 2026. The Town of Red Hook Fire Protection District Amendment 1 to the Fire Service Agreement, Village of Tivoli. A public hearing has been duly called and held this evening. The amendment between the Town of Red Hook and the Village of Tivoli regarding the fire service agreement for 2025 and 6 for fire protection is hereby approved. That's what the resolution says. Can I move this one? Would you mind? Thank you. Is there a second? Who would like to second this? Anybody who's had the need of the Tivoli Fire Department in the last 5 years? Would he or she like to second this resolution?
Sure, I'll second it.
Okay. I think you'll find a lot of us have had the need of one fire department or another in this community, and you don't know. You will find out who these dedicated volunteers are when you do have a situation, and they are there for you day in and day out, leaving their jobs in order to come to do their volunteering. With that being said, and with endless gratitude, a vote. I think there's a motion, there's a second by Kenny. Thank you, Kenny. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor. William?
Aye.
Jacob?
Aye.
The 3 of us, ayes, yes?
Aye.
Christina? Robert and Kenny. Thank you very much. And thank you all, Tivoli. Fingers crossed,
Fingers crossed, we'll be doing the bid next month.
Yeah, next month, we'll see what that comes in, and you'll let us know.
Yep.
You keep us informed, okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Again, that's the easiest part.
Thanks for getting us out of here.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Vince.
Good night, Water Department, thank you. All right, we have a very patient highway superintendent. But we do need to do what? We need to do public comments, though. Teresa, if you could hang in, you'll be next. I know. It's a lose-lose. Folks, we have 15 minutes for public comment tonight. We still have a few items to get to. Is there somebody who would like to speak for public comment? Okay. Roxanne, if you'd be kind enough to just say your name for the record, please, as always.
Roxanne Fisher from Barrytown, New York. First, I want to extend a warm welcome to our new council members, Christina and Ken. You both ran on platforms opposing the use of eminent domain against the Red Hook Boat Club, emphasizing the need for greater transparency and genuine dialogue with the community. Your election reflects the clear voice of the voters on this issue, and many of us are hopeful that your presence on the board will bring fresh perspective, accountability, and a commitment to listening to residents. Second, I want to inform everyone here in the room and those watching on Zoom that on January 6, 2026, I filed a third supplemental submission to my ongoing complaint with the New York State Controller's Office regarding fiscal concerns in the town's eminent domain proceedings against the boat club property. This update highlights expenditures approaching $250,000 with no results, improper use of the B fund to shift the tax burden, and the complete absence of any funding details for the $1.25 million plus project, which should have been included in the 2026 budget. The Controller's Office is already reviewing this matter, and costs continue to rise amid a growing docket of pending litigation. Finally, a reminder to the board. The original eminent domain resolution passed on a 3-2 vote. Any member who voted yes can still move to rescind that vote. Doing so would immediately halt this extremely expensive process and end the wasteful drain on taxpayer money that could be better spent on true community priorities. I hope the board will choose fiscal responsibility and the unity of the community moving forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Roxanne.
Thank you,
Who
Roxanne.
else?
Thank you, Roxanne. Yeah, money goes toward a new water tank, 100%.
Hi, Carrie Kittner, Barrytown, New York. I also want to welcome Kenny and Christina. And the main thing I wanted to say was that it was so nice to actually have a conversation. I got an email from Christopher Munn about that meeting next Wednesday, and it was like, oh, you can come and ask questions, and people will give you answers. And I'm going to just say it every time I come to these meetings. I say, can we please have a forum about the boat club, okay? Like we would love to have that same kind of questions and answers for a topic that's like been roiling in this community. So that's my request. Maybe our 2 new members could push towards having a forum. We had a public comment period in which supposedly we were listened to, but what we said didn't seem to move any of the board members. Well, 2 of them silently said no, but it was silently, and I just really appreciate if Christina's speaking up tonight, because I think these water guys know what they're doing, but it's really nice to be able to ask questions and really understand what's happening. As a citizen, I really like to understand. And on that note, you close the public comment period on the water tank thing, And then there were two motions, and the first motion seemed to be to move forward with bidding, but the second motion seemed to be to approve the bond as long as it didn't go over this certain amount. So I had asked earlier if the bids came in, whether there would be another public comment period, but it sounds like if the bids come in below this maximum amount, then you're just moving ahead with that. That's a question, and I'd really like an answer right now on that.
Okay, Karen, we need to get...
You don't answer questions.
I'm going to give you an
Okay,
answer.
good.
I'm going to give you an answer. Just like we told the folks in the newly created TND sewer district that we would not move forward until we got some grant funding, we have told you that we will not move forward with the water tank till we get those other two key questions. What is the acceptable bid, and what, if any, contribution will be coming from Bard College? So, but we had to do a bond resolution for the TND sewer district a couple of years ago in order to move forward so that we could apply for grants and so on and so forth. So we have those grants because we approved the authorization. And again, I think somebody in the audience said it well. Until you get authorization to begin the process, you can't ever
Right,
get the
but wasn't that the
information.
first resolution was to authorize to begin the process? The second thing of approving the bond?
We do have to approve. We would never go ahead and expend substantial funds to develop specs if we...
Okay, so
right,
it's not the full amount of the money that you're approving, it's the amount of money to find out how much it's going to be.
And Carrie, and my objection to closing the public hearing was that it's not that I disagree that the total amount is going to be what it is. I just think that there needs to be public input in how do we get to that place. It's going to cost what it costs. And my personal opinion is I do agree with the total number.
Right.
But we're in a negotiation with the village and with Bard, and so who's going to pay for this? And I think that the public is part of that process, and that was my objection to closing the public hearing.
Right.
Not to agreeing to the final amount of what that looks like.
And as long as there'll be more public comment, no matter what the bids come in at, then I'm going to just go sit down.
Thank you.
And hope that we can have a forum that questions are answered on this really divisive topic of the boat club.
Thank
So
you, Kim.
putting another...
Anybody else like to make public comments? We have about 8 more minutes for public comments.
I'm going to be very quick. Susan Quasha, Darrytown, New York. And I just want to say that this is 2026 now, and I'm really hoping that you will all follow good governance, which means being clear about things, understanding them, letting the public understand them, and that there's less divisiveness and more bringing everybody together. That's what good governance is.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, we have time for another speaker or two.
Lisa Polero,
Yeah.
Town of Red Hook. Robert McKeon continues to assert without evidence that the eminent domain action has widespread support, and Jacob, you concurred with that on July 15th, and also stated that the opposition would be a short-term discomfort. Almost $250,000 has been spent through October. That's not a mere discomfort. We don't yet have the invoices for November and December, in which there were continued court hearings in an attempt to circumvent the court ruling with new zoning laws. In December, we received a letter from the supervisor warning of fiscal challenges on the horizon. And tonight's board packet includes the amendment for the Tivoli Fire Service Agreement, discussion on rising healthcare costs, and the notification that the town's grant application for the Red Hook Trail Link was not selected for funding. And yesterday, the Daily Catch reported on the Red Hook Fire Chief and the financial challenges facing the department. If you were to open those window shades in the back, you'd see across the street the graphic showing the amount spent so far, an amount that could have been used for any of those real needs that I mentioned, not wants. But the closed shades are symbolic because, like your eyes and ears, if you don't open them, you don't have to face the truth. The fees will accrue at a similar pace this year, and for those interested, go online and search for Red Hook Boat Club versus Town of Red Hook, and find the link to PACE Monitor. That provides a publicly available summary of the most recent federal court proceedings, and you'll see that there are motions, depositions, discovery, and conferences scheduled through July of 2026. At minimum, 7 more months of unnecessary, wasteful spending. What will the total be by then? This level of discomfort far exceeds short term. Ken and Christina, involve yourselves in the planning and conversations with the attorneys. Don't allow one person to call the shots and make binding, expensive decisions. Ask the questions we cannot get answered. Request and review the legal proceedings to learn what has been proposed and what has been declined. And I think you'll learn a great deal. Each January presents an opportunity to reflect, recalibrate, and if necessary, redirect. We began that process with the swearing in of 2 new board members. Bill and Jacob, you both have an opportunity to rewrite your part in what is arguably the most unpopular and now most fiscally wasteful decision ever made by 3 people, but impacting so many. Either of you can move to rescind the eminent domain action, and if you do, you will have the votes to pass it. Every additional dollar spent on legal fees is now your choice to prolong this mess. So please reevaluate and redirect the taxpayer dollars to the more critical issues that have come up tonight. And it's time for you to open the shades and confront the truth.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa.
We'll take one more speaker, Linda Stoddard.
Linda Stoddard.
Thank you, Linda.
Robert, I just have a question about,
Linda, go ahead. You make your remarks. We have to get to our agenda items tonight. Don't anchor the
Let her
train.
speak.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, when you do reorg, are you going to be redistributing or reassigning liaisons? Because there are 5 board members, and right now there is a great imbalance on the liaisons, and a majority of the liaisons of the committees is you, and it should be distributed equally amongst the board. So I was just wondering if that's going to be done in reorg.
Thank you, Linda. Yes, that's all of the ones that were previously Christine or Julia have been whited out so that we
Okay,
can
but
fill in
even with
tonight.
them, you're still the liaison for more than anybody else.
Thank you, Linda, for your thoughts on that.
And that's not the way it's supposed to be, as you do.
Okay. Anybody else? If not, okay, we're going to move on to our next item.
I do think we should open the window shades. It's actually been bothering me because it's like traffic moving forward and.
Have some distractions.
Folks,
Yes.
busy folks.
Right?
Yes.
We need to get on with our meeting. All right. Let's please go to the highway department issues. Teresa's been very patient, not only this meeting, but the previous meeting.
There you go.
We are, item number 3. 92, you said?
No, 2 and 3.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to start marking the page on screen.
33.
33, take notes.
The highway expenditures?
Yeah. All right, folks, so we have the 284 agreement. For the folks at home, each year, or previous to the year, the highway superintendent proposes roads for capital improvements, which are to be repaved, what material is going to be used, whether or not it's asphalt or whether or not it's chip seal. You should know that the roads that are proposed for this year, 2026, are Star Barrack for paving, Glasper, and chip seal for the Tivoli area, Stony Brook Road, Middle Road down here, Sangstack, and Kid Lane. And the chip sealing is to preserve the roads, to get longevity out of them. And so the budget, this conforms with what we have budgeted for 2026. Estimated cost for Stargark and Gosberg is $320,000. For the chip sealing projects, 2026 budget is $90,000. There's currently a balance of $82,000 in the 25 CHIPS fund, which will roll over to the calendar year. We don't find out funding until the state's budget is passed. Most of the funding that goes towards these capital improvements comes from the state. Okay, any questions on which roads, the amounts, anything for?
I don't have any issues with it. I don't have any issues with it, as long as it conforms with the budget. I'm interested though in how, in terms of what that overall plan looks like. I'm sure you have metrics and how you figure and.
So the first thing to understand is this agreement, it's a living document. So we are asked to designate which roads, based on our observations before the winter, we would like to pave. Many things can change in between. So once we sign this 284 agreement, if we find that there are roads that need more attention or something, catastrophic happens.
And what time of year, do you look at it versus?
So we look at it all year, and we keep a record of how old the roads are, when they were last paved. There's two parts to this. The resurfacing is the major expenditure, and then the chip seal is the maintenance part of it. So you want to chip seal your good roads within 5 years of paving. To keep them good, it extends the life past the average 15 years. If you do it every so often, it's a lot less expensive. And then you take the bulk of the CHIPS money and put it into major repair. So this is kind of a guess because we don't know what roads will look like after what type of winter we may have. There may be a flooding issue and one of the roads gets blown apart. So we come back and say, okay, we can't spend the money on this road because we have to spend it on that road. It's an amendment to this document. It comes back to the town board. We put the reasons in there and then we ask for the expenditure again. Same point, the state doesn't pass its budget till April. So we don't know until we go out to bid for these roads and the state passes its budget if it's all going to fit. So we may have to dial back, or we may get more money from the state if we go up and lobby for it, and then we can add. So it's a living document. It's sort of, this is what we plan on doing. If everything works out, this is what we will do. But if it doesn't, we'll let you know ahead of time, and it has to come to a town board meeting again.
Thank you.
Seems to be a recurring theme about we have estimates, we need to authorize to move forward, we then finalize the amounts, and then we can go ahead with the various.
We'll go out to bid for the contracts and bring them back to the board for approval.
Yeah.
Right, and so there's no sort of master document of all town roads and you're grading them A through whatever.
Well, we do, but anything can change at any time.
Sure. And
So-
the winter comes through and then it's all changes.
You just
and-
never know.
Yeah.
You never know. But we have, each road is supposed to have a 15-year life before resurfacing. We don't have the budget to do that on a regular basis, so we choose the best roads that we think, the worst roads that we think will benefit. Highly traveled roads over lower traveled roads. It's all kind of put all the information in and see what comes out at the end. So this is what we propose for this year. And again, it can change depending on funding and road conditions after the winter.
Thank you. I appreciate the explanation.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Teresa. Any further questions from board members? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2026-284 agreement for highway expenditures.
So moved.
Well, it's a
I have the
second.
2 copies.
Yeah. Christina, would you be the second to that motion?
Sure.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Aye.
Okay.
So Deanna has the copies and they're
Yep.
signed at the meeting, and then at the end I'll sign them.
Thanks, we'll tackle that. Next up is the electric van. The highway department has requested a replacement of the, how old van, 20, 40, 22 years, something like that, decade old van, right, Teresa?
I thought I had it written in the document, it's pretty old.
Yeah. We are, it's been.
It's a 2008 van.
2008, okay, so almost 2 decades old. It's a cargo van to move equipment when they go and do work on the roads. It has been the desire of at least the previous board for all vehicles when possible to be electric for both environmental and for financial sustainability. There's very little maintenance on electric vehicles, and we have the infrastructure here because of all the work that we've done and the grant funding we've received. We also have on our highway department, we have a solar system that produces more electricity than the highway department uses. And so we're able to have this van plugged in, and excess energy can be allocated towards the charging stations for these purposes. So there's savings associated with that. Teresa has looked into different makes and models and come up with the recommendation for the Dodge Ram truck or EV cargo van that's recommended here. And we've worked together on identifying that there is still some funding. We could at least get about 10% grant funding for the purchase of the van. So what you have is a resolution that includes sort of the gross amount of $78,000. We would hope to receive at least the $7,500 rebate for the acquisition. And
So what would it cost for the same van in gas?
58,000, but no rebate.
58,000, but no rebate, and so we're at, sorry, the number was
so we're about 70 with the rebate?
70 with a...
With the rebate, yeah. And then you have to do the savings versus the electric, which is in theory free because it's being remote and metered from the highway garage, and the maintenance. And there's also our policy of when we can to continue our electrification. Any further questions?
The current van, how many miles a year do you put on that?
I don't know off the top of my head, Ken. But I can tell you what we use it for.
Oh, okay.
We use it for sign installation. So it has like a equipment inside and all the nuts and bolts, and it can carry the signs and the poles. And we also use it for carrying stuff that has to be undercover because the rest of our equipment is pickup trucks that are open to the weather. So if we have to go pick up parts or something, we can use the van. If you have to drop off a vehicle, like one of the big dump trucks up to Hudson or anywhere else, Albany, the van can follow and then take a person back. So it's like a multi-purpose vehicle. It's very handy.
Right, but it sits idle quite a bit, it sounds like.
Well, I guess if you look at it that way, a lot of them sit idle quite a bit. It just depends on what you're doing at that particular time.
Yeah.
But
Well, my concern is there's been some issues with electric vehicles. So if it was something that was really, we were really dependent on, you know, and obviously we are, but it's not gonna
No, it's not an emergency response vehicle.
Right.
And with this particular vehicle, we have to go out to bid. So far I've seen 2025s. I haven't seen 2026s to build yet. But if there's gonna be any issues, the manufacturer will let us know.
Right. Okay.
So, this is the first step in the process, just like the other items. We have to follow a protocol set by New York State in order to go out for a mini bid. So this bid will go all over the state, and if people have them, they'll give us a price, and if they don't, they'll let us know why. So again, we'll come back with the bid results and say, do you want to buy this or not? So it's just, we have to get approval to go forward in order to use the state bid system.
Right. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Anything else you'd like us to know before we entertain motion to approve that resolution?
Nope.
Okay. This is now resolution 4, Deanna?
5.
Authorizing procurement of bids for EV cargo van for the highway department purposes, whereas the town of Red Hook, and this also has been discussed in previous meetings, just for the folks at home, has recommended the purchase of a utility van for highway department purposes. The town board requested the consideration of an electric vehicle in accordance with the town's purchasing and procurement policy, which was updated to reflect our desire to always investigate environmentally friendly products. Whereas the highway superintendent has identified a type of vehicle with the specs determined to be necessary for the department's use, being a Dodge Ram ProMaster electric cargo van, the equipment available through New York State OGS, state contract number 23166, to be acquired through the mini bid procedure in accordance with the terms and conditions of such contract and our purchasing policy. Highway superintendent is hereby authorized to proceed with procurement of bids for the equipment in accordance with the contract terms and conditions with an estimated cost not to exceed $78,000. The town supervisor and town's other officers are hereby authorized and directed for a name to do all acts and things necessary and convenient in furtherance of this resolution. Number 5, who might be a liaison to the highway department who would want to move that?
So moved.
Thanks, Jacob. Is there a second? Well, it's electric. May I second that resolution? Okay. Further discussion?
Thanks, Teresa.
Thank you. Thank you. Very good. All in favor? Christina, Kenny?
Aye.
Bill? Aye. Thank you very much. Okay, that was number 5, resolution number 5. Agenda item number 3. We've done water district, we did fire district. Let's go to the first item on the agenda, which is the resolution organizing a resolution. Don't look at the screen, you'll get dizzy. The annual reorg. There we go. We do this annually where we state when our meetings are. This will serve as the public notice for all our town board meetings, by the way, for 2026. Any changes then will necessitate a change in the public meeting notice. Be it resolved, the town board of the town of Red Hook as follows. Meeting dates, regular meetings of the board will take place throughout the year 2026 on the following days in each month. 7:30 at Town Hall, 2nd Tuesday and 4th Wednesday. It has been such for many years now. Additional special meetings may be scheduled and announced by posting the announcement at Town Hall as required by Chapter 22 of the Code, with notification to the press as required by Public Officers Law. Number 2, the official newspaper of the town for 2026 shall be the Poughkeepsie Journal. Depositories, these are the banks that we have funds with. In addition, the town is a member of New York Class pursuant to New York Class Municipal Cooperation Agreement, amended and restated. That's where we have our funds that we are not using immediately. If you think of it in terms of a money market fund, where we get better interest than keeping it in the bank. This is a cooperative of many municipalities. Petty cash, the following offices are authorized to maintain a petty cash to conduct day-to-day business. The following amounts not to exceed $500 per officer or $1,000 for the receiver. Salaries, the salaries below are the salaries that were adopted, the budget for 2026. Mileage reimbursement rate for town business, the IRS rate of 72.5 cents per mile, who incur official mileage when they are obligated to drive their own vehicles on town business or when a town vehicle is not available. And that is a reimbursement undertaking. The town board of the town of Red Hook hereby authorize the execution of a blanket bond in lieu of individual undertaking pursuant to section 11(2) of the Public Officers Law for the purpose of covering all officers and employees who collect money, including in the list of these positions here in Town Hall. The town board hereby authorize the following to sign bank checks for all town business. That would be the town supervisor in his absence or her absence, Deputy Supervisor William Hamill, and 3 in the absence of the supervisor and deputy supervisor, any of the town board members, Christina Ducharme, Ken Mingarelli, or Jacob Testa. The annual financial report, the town board of the town of Red Hook hereby authorizes and directs the supervisor to submit to the town clerk within 60 days after the closing of the fiscal year or such later date as may be required for such filing with the state comptroller, a copy of the supervisor's report to the state comptroller, and the town clerk shall cause a summary of such report to be published within 10 days of that filing in the official newspaper. Procurement, and that's for Kenny and for Christina. If you have not had a chance, we'll send along to you those various policies. You'll want to review them in the future should we decide to make any changes to them. Procurement, investment policy, ethics policy. I know that the ethics board, I think, is looking to do another training session. Is that right, Jake?
Yeah, so there will be, we're working to schedule an in-person training next Friday here in Town Hall for all town employees. And
next Friday, okay.
And then, not this upcoming, but next, the 23rd.
23rd, okay.
And then there will be a second one that will be held virtually the following Tuesday in the evening for those who can't attend in person.
I have a number of comments. I thought we had to go through it and then make a motion before we discussed it, but apparently that's not true.
Sure. Okay. Well, we can get through it. Did you want to make?
Well, so I mean, if we're going to talk about it, let's talk about it as we're going, because I think it's more relevant.
I think we're finished. Did you have comments?
I do. So the meetings, the 7:30 meeting time and the Tuesday and the fourth Wednesday, I would propose an earlier meeting time and a consistent day. I think that's very confusing for the public and honestly for ourselves to have that kind of a schedule. So I would propose we meet at 6 o'clock instead of 7:30.
Okay. My understanding, these times predate, they predate not only my being town supervisor, but when I was on the town board way back in 2009, my understanding was that times were set so that folks could have dinner with their family and come here, and the choice of having 2 separate days, my understanding, Christina, was that if you chose, say, a Tuesday and a Wednesday, that if somebody had a standing Tuesday thing, that they could at least come to one meeting a month. They could come on the Wednesday or vice versa. That was the rationale. I'm not saying that has to continue that way, but
I mean, I'm putting it out there as a discussion item. I think that it's rather late, and I think that historically, there's been a lot of interest, and that's a positive thing for the board. You know, I think families are flexible, and there's 7:30 is rather late in the evening as a start time. So I've had this discussion on other committees that we've been on that historically have met later in the evening, and the consensus has been to move it earlier, and I've seen that overall to be a positive change.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I like to agree with that.
Okay.
You know, I go to bed kind of early. I wake up early. And I mentioned this to you, Robert. I'm on 2, 3, 4 other committees. And this Tuesday is the committee which I've been on down in New York City for Green Market. So it is a conflict, especially with what's going on with Green Market. I need to be involved in that committee. So it would be nice if they were the 2nd and 4th Wednesday. That would be good for me, and I understand. I don't know what I'm going to do if I can't. And I would like to see the meetings earlier also.
But I think if you would be earlier on Tuesday, that'd be worse for you, not
Yeah,
better.
I know.
Is that right?
Yep.
It'd be worse for me too.
But then I only, those meetings go exactly 3 hours. They don't go over, so.
What time do they start?
6. So I would only be able to sit in on it for an hour and a half.
Okay.
So you're saying Wednesday would be a conflict for other people?
Well, second Wednesday here, Town Hall is taken up by both the ZBA. We would have to, if we were to move to Wednesday, we'd have to move the ZBA out of there.
That's
Second
this room.
Wednesday,
Right,
that's
right,
this
right.
room, and then the CAC takes the conference room.
Right.
So it wouldn't just be us having to change our schedule to
Yeah, I
accommodate that. We would have to move other boards, and then we don't have the ability tonight certainly to know that whether or not they could or would want to
Well, can
change
we
their
do one
night. There's also-
early, one late?
One early, one late. Jacob,
Yeah, I
I'm
was gonna
sorry,
say-
you started to say
I was gonna
something.
say Tuesdays, and Thursdays, I have a commitment earlier in the evening that I wouldn't be able to get here until after, like 7:30 is about the earliest I can get over here.
So you can't do earlier if it's Tuesdays and Thursdays?
Yeah.
We can't do a second Wednesday right now because of ZBA and CAC here.
Well, I think that's an overall discussion. I think
Right.
there's a flexibility amongst many committees. I mean, when at other committees I've been on, we've talked about it, and it's not to say that maybe this is something that can't be resolved right now,
Yeah, I
but
don't
we
think so, yeah.
we should have an open
Sure.
discussion. And 7:30 is very late. And you know, we've had meetings that have gone on until midnight, and that certainly affects people.
Yeah.
And that's really not an accessible time
Yeah.
for the public in general. So
Yeah. We've also had many meetings that were over in an hour, but I hear your point that it does, that we run that risk when we start a meeting, that if we want to accommodate or get all the work conducted that evening. We did stop one meeting. It was the first time in my 10 years we stopped a meeting before we finished all the work, and maybe that's what we need to consider if we are stuck meeting at 7:30.
and I also think the switching of the days is confusing. I think that it's that, you know, town board is a commit, you know, an entity that should take precedent, and consistency of meeting on the same time, the same one day a week at an earlier time, would be what I would press for.
Yeah, I hear you.
Did
And
the
I do.
ZBA switch on?
Well, we'll need to approach the ZBA if
Right.
that's what, but I do think we need to give it some consideration, Christine and Kenny.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think we do, and I do agree we're not going to solve it tonight.
Right.
So we'll take a look at this and see what options exist, and look at the pros and cons of switching night or time or what have you. We have to all look in our schedules because we all have different hats that we wear.
Of course.
In addition to these roles. So I appreciate that, and maybe we can try to get our calendars together and see what the holes are. Maybe start with what you absolutely can't do, and then we'll work from there and see how the puzzle comes together. We will have to, at least for now, stick with what we've got so that we can have our meeting on January 28th. That would be the fourth meeting. If you want to make subsequently we can make amendments to the meeting schedule, but we do need to publish the notice. Okay. So there's that. Anything else on this?
I did have another comment on item number 5 was confusing to me. So the salaries that were laid out for town board, is this all inclusive? Because reviewing the budget, there were other line items that seemed to be allocated to certain members.
These are for these positions, and that's the way that the resolution must read. The position, yes, there are other budgetary lines, but these are the ones that need to be put in the.
What do you mean? What do you mean? This is the way it must read? Can you explain?
You need to state the salary for the supervisor role. You need to state the salary for the town council member role. You need to state the salary for the town clerk role and the town justices. These are.
And you're not able to. So there's other supplementary roles that
this is elected officials.
Yeah, correct.
I'm trying to give you the answer to your question, Christine. You need to state the salary figure for the elected officials. These are the elected official lines, okay? So if the supervisor is also the budget officer, as statutorily he or she is, unless they declare someone else to be that role, that is not included because that is not the elected official salary.
But wouldn't it be clear to state in there, even if those roles weren't assigned, like what there are other supplementary salaries that are applied to certain people within these roles?
No, Christina, it is the following salaries for elected officials. That's it. So it must read that way. Okay? The budget spells out all the various lines. Okay, so that's the reorg resolution. It's number, are we lucky number 7?
6.
We're at 6. And then we can get to the liaison roles. Try to tackle some of those tonight. So resolution number 6, it's relating to annual reorg. Who would like to move that?
So moved.
Thank you, Jacob. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you, William. Any further discussion? If not,
Sorry.
yeah.
Annual reorg. So I need to understand what we're voting on in this. What we just reviewed, we had a number of revisions to it.
I'm sorry.
I don't think we had any revisions.
What were the revisions to it?
So
you are just voting on this resolution?
On this resolution, so we're saying that the meeting dates are set, understood for the next meeting, but we discussed that might be, like, what would be the mechanism of revising that if we chose that in the future? That's like an amendment?
Yes, we would need to create a new resolution to set the town board meetings for a new date and time. We would then need to publish that. We have to publish all our meetings. This is the mechanism for publishing them to say, as of now, they are still second Tuesday and fourth Wednesday.
So would we be able to say that they're second Tuesday and fourth Wednesday for the next, for January, and then we'll
I'm not sure that that would be prudent of us to do that because we can make the change right now. Once we approve this, we don't have to republish each and every meeting. If we go to make a change, then we would do a new publishing. If we go ahead and say it's only good for January, then we're looking at additional costs and time and expenditure to do the republishing of the notices. We are also not laying out the meeting schedule for a significant period of time. And right now, I don't hear that we have any consensus on any changes yet. So
Well, that's fair. Can we agree that we'll discuss it at the next meeting, and we'll
Sure.
commit to
Sure.
potentially reorganizing with other
Sure.
committees and boards.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So seeing no changes, sorry, Kenny, did you want to say something?
No, I just voted aye, that's all.
Aye is good. So we have a motion, a second, we have an aye at this end, Williams an aye, I'm an aye, Jacobs an aye, Christina?
Aye.
Aye, okay, 5 aye. Very good. Why don't we're jumping around a lot tonight, I apologize. Let's do, sorry?
Can you vote on the registrar to appoint? So that I can submit that.
Vote on what?
Yeah.
Registrar, as a registrar, I need to be appointed.
I think you're still a holdover though. Yeah, you still are the registrar.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't, we weren't gonna make any specific appointments.
Yeah, but you signed it. I just want to
Yeah.
get that to the county and get that to the state.
Okay, our town clerk has been the registrar of vital statistics. This
Yes.
time I'd like to make a motion that for 2026, that we appoint and continue our town clerk, Deanna Cochran, as the registrar of vital statistics.
Second that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, okay.
Thanks.
All right. Let's go to number 8, jumping around, I apologize. Just assigning the delegate to the Association of Towns meeting. So-
What happened to the town board appointments?
Yeah, we're gonna get to that.
Okay.
We're gonna get to that. That may be just a longer conversation. We wanna
Okay.
get to a couple of items.
Somebody's trying to pair their phone to the TV.
Oh. Yeah, let's not do that. Okay. If we would. All right. I think I mentioned there's an annual conference that happens every February. There are votes that are conducted at the Association of Towns. There are over 900 towns in New York State. I think it's Red House. I believe it's Red House that is the smallest town in the state of New York. Something like 37, 40 people. I believe I have that right. And then you have towns like Brookhaven, which are several 100,000. They all convene and they have policy positions. They do a fair amount of lobbying on our behalf, the Association of Towns. They also have some recommendations for changes to their bylaws that they would like us to look at. We're looking for no action tonight or discussion on the policy positions, but they are here. Many of them are either repeat asks of Albany or related to previous asks. Oftentimes they are funding related. So for the new board members, if you would kindly take a look between now and our next meeting.
I'd be happy to volunteer to go in February.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that. If you'd like to go to do the training, that's great. Typically, the supervisor is the one who does the voting on behalf of the town. I do intend to be there in order to do that and to convey any thoughts at the annual meeting on behalf of the town board. So you can look at the registration information, Christina, and we can take a look at the budget and make some budget adjustments to accommodate you to go get that training.
Sounds great.
Okay, that's it. So we just need a motion to designate, and I'll offer myself up as I have previously, as the person to conduct the voting on behalf of the town. Who would like to make that motion to designate the town supervisor? Bill, you've been down there.
Yep, I'll do it. It's a ministerial process.
Okay. So you're making the motion to designate me?
Yep.
Okay. And would you be available in my absence then?
Not for this meeting.
Okay, good. Who else would be available?
I'm available in your absence.
Great, terrific. Okay.
Good training.
So that's a motion to appoint the town supervisor as the designate, and we'll say Christina as the alternate. Very good. Bill's made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jacob. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Christina?
Aye.
Kenny?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Health insurance policy options, not looking for action tonight, but just continuing this because we do need to pick a policy. Preferably at our next meeting because enrollment starts in February, the plan year is March. What's different this year, although they did try to come into the area, is United Healthcare is making progressive proposals to provide health insurance. This is sort of the menu of various options.
Can you just clarify who this applies to? This is
Yeah.
to whom in our?
Yeah. Anybody who is eligible for health care, any full-time workers.
Would the healthcare come under a union negotiation thing? Because the guys have healthcare through the union and it has to be a comparable product. Does the union have to get involved with this? I have the understanding that it has to be negotiated before it can be changed. And you're operating on a really short window.
There are comparable plans here for us to look at, and so that's what we're taking a look at, is what are the options. We haven't made any decisions.
But does the union have to take a look at what the plans are in order to determine that they're comparable?
The union can look at whatever plans. We haven't even proposed any plans yet.
Well, we have the base plan right now, so you're proposing that you may be changing the plan. And if you do propose to change that, I'd understood that the union had to be involved in order to make sure that it was a comparable plan for the guys.
The union is always welcome to be involved in the determination of the plan, but the town board needs to go ahead and assign a healthcare plan for 2026.
So you can assign a healthcare plan before taking the options to the union that you want to do?
We haven't chosen any options yet. We're not at that point, Teresa.
Right, I understand, but we have a healthcare plan. You're proposing perhaps a different plan. It should be reviewed by the union in order to make sure that it's comparable.
We haven't reached that point, Teresa. You're making assumptions. We haven't reached that point where we're even contemplating other plans.
Okay, I just want to make sure that if there's a proposed change for the level of funding or the amount that they're going to pay, that the union be brought in before you make that decision to compare the plans and make sure that it meets with what the contract says.
Yeah. It will meet what the contract says. We will make sure of that.
But will you make sure that the union will be able to review it before you change it?
We will send to the union what we are contemplating if we make a change, yes.
What's the time frame that we're looking at?
Well,
March 1st.
ideally, yes, March 1st, they need to be enrolled. An enrollment period actually starts, the coverage is March 1st, enrollment period starts beginning of February. So tonight, what I was hoping is we could narrow down 3 plans, 4 plans, and then we can take a look at them, including our existing one, try to get more information, share with the union, understand, because if we are able to find a comparable plan that does save the taxpayer money, but gives the same type of coverage to the employees, that also could be a benefit to the employees because they pay into that plan as well.
Has this been shared with the union yet?
Not yet. There are hundreds of, this is what our healthcare broker provides us with, is sort of a sampling for this Hudson Valley region, what's available, knowing that the type of coverage that we're interested in having for our employees and trying to keep the same level of coverage for them. And each of the various companies offer, their version of that type of coverage. We're looking at silver plans and bronze plans, but we're looking at, ideally we want the same type of coverage where they get 100% coverage on just about everything. What's different about each plan is oftentimes what the deductible amounts are. There's a slight difference. Like, for example, we'll go to the first page here. If you notice our existing plan, which is the MVP Silver 8, and then the next column is what our plan would be if we were to stick with it. The premium increase is just under 16. It's rounded up to 16. I think it's 15.8%. We pay for 100% of the HRA, so when we think in terms of the deductibles and any payment that the employee would make, know that we pay as the town 100% of that up until those limits.
So right now, the employees pay a percentage of the premium.
That's correct. They pay 21%
So-
for 2025.
And
As
the-
part of the contract, they would pay 22%. So any savings that we could derive from a comparable plan that gave them comparable coverage could also extend to them if we were to want to entertain changing of the plan.
So
I
wait,
wanted to
so
share-
everything that we're looking at, are there plans on here that aren't comparable to what the union employees are currently getting?
Yes, there are some that I don't believe are comparable.
So why are we even looking at this before we eliminate, obviously we're gonna pick a plan that is comparable, we have a union.
Right, exactly. That's what we're going to do tonight, is isolate all of those out that we shouldn't consider and see what's left.
But
So I just
that's like the insurance agent could have done that and presented 4 plans that seems like a waste of time to me.
So I
don't
just
understand.
want
It's
to
important to
clarify,
understand.
before you go into the deeper discussion, is that the plan that they have now, they pay 21% and it will be 22% of the premium. They don't pay any of the deductible and they don't have co-pays. So they have a fixed amount out of their paycheck that they can count on each pay period, and it stays that way. A lot of times when you go to a lower premium, which they may benefit from bi-weekly, it may not benefit them in the long run, because with a lower premium you often have to then pay an out-of-pocket deductible. So the town takes care of the high deductible, 100%. But the employees pay 21, now 22%. And if the plan changes where they have to pay then a copay, it also takes more money out of their pocket. One of our guys who has had his raise and the higher percentage, his net this coming year is $154. So any change that affects beyond what they're paying will then affect their bottom line.
So my question would be, why wouldn't, since we have a union, why wouldn't we forward this document to the union the second we receive it, have and receive the feedback, and then narrow it down and then take a vote?
Okay, we're not going to take a vote tonight, and again, we can narrow it down. There's no reason to present the union with a menu template of all these choices when we can clearly look at a whole bunch of these and know that they're not comparable. And so all we're doing tonight is just trying to narrow it down, and then we can forward the 3 or 4 that are even looking at and get questions from the broker. And so let's do that exercise if we could tonight, and you'll understand why it's a valuable first step so we can get to where we can assign. So hearing about the coverage and the 100%, you can take a look on the first page here. There's a whole bunch of Silver 3, which used to be something we did here. The second one here has a whole bunch of co-pays. This is not something that we would deem to be comparable to the kind of coverage that employees currently have. The same is true with the next column, which is exchange certified silver. You see the co-pays. Some of them are insignificant, some of them are significant. That would not be comparable to what the employees have. HDHP, Silver 3, HSA, and again, I'm sticking with MVP for a time. You see they have, in many cases, small co-pays, but then you look at inpatient, there's a $500 copay after the deductible is exhausted. It's a real question whether or not that be comparable coverage. But then you go to this next one, the Bronze 6. Okay, so this has very similar, if not even better coverage than the Silver 8. The trade-off, however, is the annual deductible limits, which are higher. Again, remember that the town is paying for those deductibles. It's 100%. So on the one hand, the coverage is terrific. It's 100% all down the line. Here you see, I don't know if you can see my cursor, go to folks in the audience. The premium is less.
There's another big issue though, is that the coverage between carriers has been very volatile. I personally experienced this with my firm, that we were on a premium plan. It just got canceled by major carrier locally, which is like the conglomerate that does everything. So like it's hard to say, even between like MVP and United and CDPHP, like what. I don't feel like this is a decision that we should make. I mean, the chart is already narrowed down. It's only 3 pages, and the people that are on these plans are already know what their comps are and who their doctors are.
Yeah, that's a big thing too, is that their MVP is very local. So I hear that United Healthcare is not taking on like Optum and different places. So they may have to travel further and change their doctors and go through, re-enrollment with other healthcare facilities. And at this point, I don't see that as being fair, especially since now they are going to pay another percent.
Okay, Teresa, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we need to get through to do our work. I appreciate these contributions, but we're talking about MVP plans now.
Okay.
And so I'm trying to get the board to focus on the plans that are comparable so that we can ask more questions, so that we can make a more educated decision. I understand the concerns.
I'm just giving the background
I
and the
appreciate that.
knowledge for the bulk of the people who use these plans.
I appreciate that, but right now we are talking about an MVP plan. So there'll be no change in the network and who they could go to see. It's just a change between this MVP plan versus that MVP plan. And if that's something that we want to get more questions about, and would there be a benefit not only to the town, the taxpayer, but also to the employees? The premium on this Bronze 6, okay, is a 7% increase. Where they make it up, and they always do find a way to get it, is in the higher deductible. So if we were to try to project what the utilization is, right, and here they always run for us 100% or 60%. Okay, if we were to use a more typical 60% utilization, that we would end up with a 6% increase, and then we'd want to understand what, if any, changes or differences in the coverage between these two plans, because the basics that are put on this menu plate look like it's just as good, if not better, coverage for them. So we could ask of our health broker to compare and contrast these two and to dive deeper into it.
Well, if we originally said we're trying to narrow it down to 4, why don't we just give them this page that has all of the MVPs compared to the current?
Because there
get union.
There may be other options. It's important for us to understand the pros and cons also of different carriers.
My point is, I don't think we can understand the pros and cons because I think it's dependent on the families that are involved and who their doctors are. So either give them all 3 pages, or if we're going to narrow it down to 4. Are we saying we're narrowing it down to 4 MVPs, or we're narrowing it down to 4 of different choices?
What I'm saying is that if we could narrow it down to a handful instead of the 3 pages worth, and then we can inquire from our health insurance brokers to contrast the plans, including our existing plan, then we could have a better idea. Some of this we can do ourselves. We can simply look at the ones that have these larger co-pays, and we can throw them out, narrow it down, we can make a better educated decision. We could ask about the other providers, including United Healthcare, CDPHP, we used to be with CDPHP, and contrast what's available. Right now on page 1, unless anyone else sees another option, I don't think that we should explore any other option except for our existing one and this Bronze 6 HSA, and because it does give the level of coverage that they have. The risk is that if there were to be 100% utilization, it could conceivably be perhaps a little bit more expensive, but it's rare that the entire covered employee pool uses 100% of the HRA. That makes sense? Okay, that's the first page. So maybe we could ask our broker to contrast Bronze 6 with Silver 8. Okay? Agreed? Yes? No?
I don't agree. I don't feel like I have enough information to make this decision. And I feel like it's only 3 pages. I think I would rather get feedback from the employees that are using this rather than narrow it down for them.
Okay, we can do that too. All right, on the second page we have United Healthcare. Their Silver Choice option has lower deductibles. 8% increase, but there are some copays, some are low. That doesn't look like comparable to me. The next column, HD, HP, EPO, a little higher on the deductibles. Coverage looks somewhat comparable. The specialist visit, need some clarification on that.
I mean, that's a good point. These are also summaries.
Yeah.
These are not like all the details, and
That's
so
what
in
I'm
a
asking.
particular family, if you have a certain need
Yeah.
and you need to research it and come back with feedback, it's like, this is a small community. This is like,
Well, that's what I'm saying. If we can narrow it down, we can get greater details, and we can.
it's already narrowed down. It's only 3 pages.
But we don't want the employees to have to go through 20 options. We can trim it down to the things we know that are comparable, and then ask for more information and present.
I mean, in my
If we wanna
opinion,
get
the chart is is presented in a very reasonable way. It's understood what the current plan is and what the other options are, and it would be good to get feedback and then make a decision knowing the feedback of who it's affecting.
Okay, so why don't we do both of those things then? We can send this entire thing to the employees and to the union to get their feedback, and perhaps we can narrow it down for our own thinking and get from our health insurance broker some more specifics.
You know what I think would be reasonable, to your point, Robert, is to say, to have an intro when you send this, to say, here is our opinion, that this looks like the same coverage that you're getting, but here are the options that are available. What do you think?
So on United Healthcare, the only one that I see that looks comparable would be the silver. EP3Z, but we'd want to get more information from our healthcare broker. I did discuss with her, she mentioned that United Healthcare is making an aggressive play for the region and is coming in with some really good rates. But yes, we would want to understand who covers United Healthcare before we were to go ahead and make that switch. So on this page, others, there are smaller co-pays, but it doesn't look comparable to me. So far, unless you all disagree, the only ones that I see worthy of further exploration are the Bronze 6 and the Silver Choice Open Access NG. We'd want to get more information on, more comparable. And then on our third page would be the CDPHP, which was the one we did have previously. 100% coverage.
So are we agreeing that we could send these 3 pages and highlight those plans that you just mentioned and say,
Well, I don't think we're finished going over them yet, Christine.
that's fine, but I want to agree on what we're doing.
Okay. Let's get through this and then we'll agree on what we're doing. Okay. This will be the third one.
Bless you.
Is the CDPHP plan. EPO. Right, 100% coverage. Higher annual deductible, so there, I'm not sure there's a lot of savings to be had. Bless you.
But these things, Robert, these are summaries, and these depend on, like, you got to really go through the details of what's covered. It's very complicated, and it can't be simplified in a chart. And I think that our best move is to highlight a few of them and say this is our best assessment based on the summary that we're looking at.
Christina, I think you've made that point. I think you've already made that point. And we can entertain that to send it and highlight the 3. I think I've reiterated that that would be advisable. If we want to send all of the plans to them to look at, even though many of them aren't comparable coverage, we can do that. But I think we need to narrow down for our benefit what we want to get additional information on, because I don't want to get additional information on, whatever this is, 20 different plans or 15 different plans. It's too much wasted time. I don't need to know the details of a plan that doesn't provide them the appropriate coverage. So with that being said, can we, do those three make sense for further exploration, or compare our existing to
So
the
you're saying,
bronze?
so you're saying the silver 8, so the existing is the highlighted blue, which you're saying next to that, the renewal plan, because the current plan doesn't exist anymore, the one that's highlighted in blue. So we're saying the comparable renewal plan is the one directly to the right of that.
That is the existing plan. Each year, you find that there are changes, like the deductible amount has gone up, as it often does each year. That is the same plan.
The most comparable plan, but it's not the same plan.
That is.
It has the same name, Silver 8, but it's not the same.
Right. It
Okay.
is- it
So you're
is-
saying,
it
so you're
is
saying
this year's iteration
this year's
of
Silver
that.
8.
Yes.
You said this year's Bronze 6, and what was the third one?
The Bronze 6, and then the only one with United Healthcare that looked somewhat comparable.
Is the EP3Z silver? Is that it?
Sorry. No, was the Silver Choice Open Access?
Yeah.
Also highlighted dark blue,
It's EP3Z.
right?
Open access, and why that one versus the other United?
It's the only one that's comparable that has the coverage after deductible.
It has the 100%.
After,
You know,
got it, okay,
right?
that makes sense.
Okay. So we would do that one, and then the last one would be the CDPHP one, also highlighted blue. I imagine that's why they highlighted it dark blue, as they wanted to highlight for us that these look comparable.
So primarily what you're after is the 100% after deductible because the town covers the deductible.
That's right. So we would like to provide them with that important coverage. Take away some of the surprises. They would know. And
I think that makes sense. I still would present them with the whole chart because I think it's important.
I think we can do that. Okay. Any others that we should ask for more drill down on? No?
I don't think so.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and ask of our insurance broker to contrast those four plans, to pass on the menu that they initially provided to both the union and the employees to take a look at. And then once we get the information on the contrast back from our health insurance brokers, that we could also then provide that to both the union and the employees so they can take a look at. And then we should be prepared on our January 28th meeting, you know, if we can, to make a decision. We'll receive that input on which plan. Maybe we could run some scenarios so that folks can get a sense of what the implications are, because I think, as Teresa alluded to, we want to make sure that they're not just running in place when they get an increase in their salary, and then the health insurance increase eats most, if not all, of that up. That said, that certain employees that have overtime in 2025 and ongoing have benefited from that provision in the tax code that does not tax overtime. So there is, thankfully, that to help offset as well. Okay, sound like a plan?
Yes.
Okay. Sound like a plan?
Yep.
All right, let's go
We need to
on.
vote on it. You made a motion?
Well, I made a motion, yeah. Let's go ahead and move to do so.
But we're not actually, it's not actually a motion. We're not deciding anything. We're just
We're
Sort of being clear with the public, we were
Just
listing
mark
our
it.
we're going to
That's
talk
all.
about.
That's all.
Sure.
Okay. Shall we do an all in favor, Bill? Rather that? Okay.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Got a couple of Article 7 resolutions. Let's go back to annual reorg. So tonight, what I would hope we could accomplish is to assign the liaison roles for the various board members to the departments or the committees. And then the next step is for that liaison to reach out to the committee chairs and ask them to reach out to their members to see who's interested in staying on in the committee, and then we can publish, once we get those findings, we can publish the vacancies, and then people can send their email of interest to the town clerk's office. And typically what happens is an interested individual meets then with the chairperson of that committee, and they discuss what the committees are like and whether they're interested, and we get a recommendation from the chair of that board or committee to include them as a member.
I'm going to just interrupt for a moment. I'm going to be leaving. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I left 2 copies of the 284 agreement
sign
with
them.
Deanna.
Yeah.
And if you sign it tonight, then I'll come into the office tomorrow and get it and sign it and do what we need to do with the copies. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you, Teresa.
Good night, Teresa.
Okay. So town board appointments, this is a draft dated on the 9th. This draft removes the previous council members, emergency interim successors, typically the supervisor, the highway superintendent, and then it was 3 town board members. Bill as deputy supervisor, be appropriate that you be there. Jacob, anybody else want to be an emergency interim successor? Christina, Kenny?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. So let's put Kenny in that space if that works. All right. All right, the date we have for Cheryl has been reappointed, probably should reflect 2031 on this draft.
I got it.
Okay. Animal control, dog control officer, we had Patricia, who's our dog control officer now. We had 2 in that role, we now have 1. That's a change from previously. The supervisor's appointments, so there are appointments that only town clerks make and appointments that only supervisors make. The deputy supervisor is Bill Hamill. It says budget officer and myself, but it's not really appointment. I don't appoint myself. I am the budget officer unless I appoint somebody else. But that could stay there. It makes no matter. Secretary part-time, Kathleen Flood. Town historian, or as I like to tease her, town historian, Emily Major, who is also the Village of Tivoli mayor. Town clerk appointments, any changes there?
No.
Deanna, okay. Highway superintendent appointments, I asked Teresa, I know she's left, but she's appointing again for 2026 John Gardner as deputy. Other town employees are listed here. We made changes to this draft just based upon the maintenance and groundskeeper crew. Contracts and consultants. There's a new name. I think it's official. Professional computer associates will want to make the change, Deanna, maybe on this list at our next meeting. I think it's in.
Yeah, I don't know how to spell it.
JTIX or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, I don't know how to spell it. I'll have
Okay.
to.
Did PCA change
I believe so.
who they
Yeah,
bought?
the name of it. It's a new company name.
Oh, okay.
In fact, I think they had a ribbon cutting. town CPA, custodial services, police and court attendants, that's all the same. There's a notation from 2014, a lot of the protocols are based upon historic. We have the meetings, we've discussed that, and we'll continue to discuss that. Monthly and annual reports to the town board, heads and committee chairs, minutes report. Like to get them to noon before Friday so we can put them in the packet. Doesn't always happen. There's annual reports by Rec Commission and the CAC. Town board organizational responsibility, that's the chain, if you will. Stop me if you have any questions. Mileage, that's the IRS rate. Town departments, department head, deputy, supervisor, town board liaison. So here we go to our liaison roles.
Wasn't Christine on planning board, or was that you, Bill?
We both were.
Oh, okay.
So when she dropped off, I took it.
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Can we just go in the order that it's on the list, please? Animal control, Bill, you've been very kind to do animal control all of these.
For 6 years.
Is that how long it's been?
Yeah.
6 years? Okay. Are you willing to stay on doing that?
I would prefer not to.
Okay.
What kind of animals?
Just dogs.
It's
It's just dogs.
No.
By law, they call animal control.
Occasionally there's something else in the report, but it's
No,
mostly dogs.
And when the contract was with the SPCA, it truly was all animals.
Oh.
But by law, we only are responsible for dogs because we license them.
Okay.
But the issue was when the SPCA, about 2.5 years ago, decided they were no longer going to do animal control for anybody in Dutchess County. A lot of towns were left flat-footed. We all had to figure out a way to stand up the dog control situation. So we partnered with Rhinebeck to not just have animal control officers, but they actually have a kennel at their highway department. And so partnering isn't technically legally the right way to describe it, but because we share the same animal control officer, or dog control officer, it's a DCO, dog control officer, and the dog control officer actually resides in Rhinecliff. Things have been, and it's taken a while to get up to speed, but we finally have something in place that seems to be working. There's still some things to work out, but it was a lot of work getting it stood up, and
So you do a lot of coordinating with the village police, right? Because a lot of times they get the first call.
Yeah, often Pat's staff are the first ones on the scene, and they pick up the dog, and they actually have the key to the code to get into the kennel. So sometimes they actually just bring the dog to the kennel and then notify the dog control officer, who then goes and does what needs to be done.
So whoever does this would be coordinating with Pat, or at least be in touch with Pat.
So how much time does this take?
Well, in the past,
There's a lot. It sounded like a lot.
but now it's more under control. And the only time that there's a situation, the dog control officers getting up to speed. I mean, these are people that never did it for a living before, but now they are, and so they're learning all the rules. Is we had an unusual circumstance that happened recently in which there was a number of dogs that all belonged to one person that got loose. But we worked it out, and the village PD did a great job of helping getting them corralled and taken to the kennel.
Right.
And then we worked on a project to find a way to get them adopted out. So that was an anomaly. You know, the issue that you get calls on is we're only authorized to pay a vet a certain amount of money, and say a dog was hit by a car and abandoned.
Right.
You know, we still have an obligation to pick up the dog and then make a decision what we're going to do.
Right.
It doesn't happen very often.
So Patricia Wayne is the dog?
Is the dog control officer.
So you're in contact with her?
Yeah, she calls me when there's an unusual circumstance. And I can tell you she has a lot more business south here, in Rhinebeck,
Okay.
than they do have here. But you occasionally get a call saying, you know, what do you think about this?
Okay.
And then there are some things that have to go to the supervisor. You know, if it's an emergency and, you know, do we take the dog to the hospital in Kingston, or does it have to be euthanized? I mean, we had to make that decision once.
Right.
So, but that, it's infrequent. And I feel.
I think I'm setting up myself up for disaster.
Kenny, you would be making a phone call to Pat. Maybe you have his number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have his number in your phone?
This may be an easy one. for
Yeah,
you.
I'll take it on.
Okay, I
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Kenny.
But I wanted to be on some other ones.
Thank you,
Oh,
Ken.
absolutely.
I'd end up adopting all of them, so that's better.
And
Like I gotta tell you, the only animals that I like to have are the ones you eat.
Okay. I
You don't have
think
any
we're
dogs?
gonna leave
No.
that alone.
I don't want any dogs. Not at this time. Maybe when
You did
I
though.
don't drive anymore or something. Anyway.
All right.
I appreciate that, Kenny, very much.
Yeah.
Next.
And I listen, I'm more than happy to help you
Okay.
get acquainted to how this process works.
Okay. Thank you, Ken. Assessor, you'll notice that the town supervisor typically is the liaison to a lot of the positions that are in town hall for obvious logistical reasons. So I have assessor, attorney, I am the liaison at Barton College. I have, been for many years now. Bookkeeper is actually a position that is for the town supervisor. Building inspector, Bill.
I'm happy to keep it, or if somebody else is interested.
I'm happy to take, I mean, that's in my wheelhouse, so Bill, I'm happy to take it on if you want
Yeah, it's
to.
actually a very, there's no heavy lifting to be that liaison. You get the only heavy lifting is the report is the biggest report every month that we get. It's like a half an inch thick.
Okay.
But there's really not much. So if
Yeah,
you want
it's important for the public to know, and certainly for our new town board members as well. There's a wall. There's a wall between the boards. There's a wall between the independent offices. That's the assessor. That's the building department. There's the planning board. There's the town clerk's office. There's the highway superintendent. They're all independent offices, and they have a role to play, free and fear of influence of decision making. That's their job to do. So, when it comes to building inspector, when you're liaisoning with it, you're not really influencing anything the building inspector does. You're getting reports and seeing if they, you'll hear from the building department. We actually are now trying to figure out a bigger space and reconfiguring the town hall, for example. Those are the kind of liaison things. They're not related to.
But if you have questions, send an email,
Yeah,
or call, and they'll be happy to answer.
Okay.
Happy to do it.
So we'll make that change, building inspector, Christina Ducharme. Okay. Fire companies, I have been doing the fire companies. I'm happy to do it. I'd like to do it, continue to do it. It's been a passion of mine. I think I started out as a citizen campaigning for the LoSAP program in 2007, doing mailings because I felt so strongly about our fire companies, and I'd be happy to continue that work. Highway, Jacob.
Happy to continue doing it.
Okay. Recycling, we could or could not continue with that, whatever. Anybody have a strong passion for that?
Well,
You are there a lot.
I'm there twice a week.
You want this? You want to change it?
Yeah, I can
Okay.
take that. TJ has traditionally come to me anyway.
Because you're there.
Because I'm there, if there are issues,
Right.
so.
Terrific.
Not on an operational basis, that's you, like if they have to close for
Yeah.
weather or whatever, but,
On the other issues, yeah.
Yeah.
Red Hook Central School District, no, I've already forgotten who was the liaison, if it was Julie or Christine.
I have a question on that one and
Yes.
the village of Red Hook.
Yeah.
Are those, do the liaison need to go to each meeting?
So for these, no, but for the board and committee ones, yes. But for these, no. This is who's the person who is going to help communicate between the various entities in the community. So in answer to your question, no, but there's no point of being the liaison if you're not engaging on some level, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if we're splitting this up, I would prefer to do the village, but I'll do either. I mean, there's like, I mean, I'm looking at the list. We're
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Anybody else want to do the village?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Okay. Sure. Right.
Do you want to do both?
I mean, I'll do both.
I mean,
Well,
unless somebody else really
careful what you wish. I mean, the one thing I would say.
I will do both. I will do both.
Yeah.
And
I mean, the only thing I would say, Christine, I don't want to fight you for this, the school district, but I am in monthly meetings with them.
yeah, I'm
Is that
happy.
something you can do?
If you're in monthly meetings with them, then you should probably do it.
Okay.
I was more looking at Kenny and saying if like I don't want to cut him out, but I think
No, that's fine.
the village.
We want to make sure Kenny gets lots.
Well, I've got 3, 4 on the bottom there.
Right, okay.
Yep.
So, all right, so I think we've established Robert will do school district, Christina will do Village of Red Hook.
Yes.
Okay, and you have a business in the village, that's great. Agriculture and Open Space Advisory Board.
Yep, I'll do that.
Kenny, do you have a background in agriculture and open space? Okay, Board of Assessment Review again. That has been me. Board of Ethics, Jacob, you'll continue with that. You have been continuing with that. CPF PDR Advisory Committee.
I'd like to be on that.
Okay. Anybody else want that? Okay, Kenny, thank you.
No.
CAC, Jacob, you're doing that. Design review is from time to time. Bill, you've been doing.
I've been doing it. I don't think they've had a meeting since I've
in
been
a
on
while.
the board.
They get referred.
They get an occasional referral,
It'd be
but
nice if they did meet, once a year. Just
I mean, I'll just say when we're going down this list, the two that I would have the most interest in would be design review and LWRP. But I'm happy to fill in as needed.
okay. Well, why don't we?
well, if you want design review, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
But because I'm the liaison for the planning board, which is the LWRP,
True.
it makes sense
That does make sense.
that I would do
Okay.
that. So if you want design review,
Okay. Great. Okay. So can we make that change,
Yep.
Christina, for design review? Disaster Preparedness Committee.
Is that,
We
is
need
that,
to
it-
get that up and running again.
is that in case like an EMP hits and, we lose power for like 2 months?
We have issues with the
Anybody read the
No.
book 1 second after?
Yeah. So,
Something to think about.
well, we're talking about that. We're going to be talking about battery storage, battery energy. Although it's not been a fun topic over in Ulster right now. That's again very site specific.
Right.
So. Disaster preparedness, we need to get that back up and running.
I'll think about it.
You'll think about, okay, yeah, we don't have to do this right
No,
this
I know.
second. Okay.
As liaison.
So, yeah, as liaison, yeah. Energy committee, I want to stick with that. We're still the only town I know that has the energy committee. We've had one since 2009 when I started. Greenway and Trails, who was that? Was that Julia?
So it was Christine,
Okay.
although I think the committee always emailed me because they thought that I was the liaison. And I'm happy to take it on.
Okay.
I attended a meeting before and
Okay.
I think I work well with that
Yeah,
guy.
I attended a few meetings also.
Okay. Well, Jacob, can we, okay,
rock,
Jacob?
paper, scissors.
Yeah, you guys want to rock, paper, scissors it, Jacob?
And Kenny, if you feel really strongly that you want to do it, you're welcome
About
to. About trails, Greenland
No,
trails?
no.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
I might-
I'm happy to do it, is what
But
I'm
I
saying.
might go to it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point,
I
like,
just-
we're all welcome to, I mean, it's nice to attend these meetings even if you're not the liaison, just to
Yeah.
get to know what they're working on.
I just want to remind you, some of you mentioned good nights and bad nights. There's a lot of nights on your calendar that are filling up right now with your yes indications. Housing, Jacob, you were going to
Yep.
stick with that? Okay. Bill, you've already asked for LWRP and your rationale for that, fine. Planning board, Bill, Recreation Committee, yes, I'm here with the rec director every day. Red Church Cemetery Committee, that's sort of a once in a blue moon, although we will be hopefully doing some events. It's Rev 250, 250th anniversary. There is no more struggling for words, but primitive church in our immediate area than the beautiful Red Church up
We
in
have some
Tivoli.
Revolutionary War.
And we have
Patriot members
Revolutionary War.
buried.
I think, what did they identify, 13?
Yeah, I think it was 14.
15.
Was it 14 or 15?
Yeah.
They're still identified? Okay.
So who's going to take them?
I'm gonna take that, because I'm gonna have to coordinate events and all that stuff and the schedules with John and whatever, if that's okay. I take that, all right. Jacob, you still speak for the trees?
Sure.
Okay, and then water and ZBA, Bill, you are existing there.
I know there's one that's not on this list that
Okay.
is below, I think,
Okay.
for the comp plan revision, or the comp plan
Okay.
committee. And I talked to Julia, who is the chair of that committee, and who
Okay.
I've worked with as liaison for the housing committee for the past few years.
Okay.
And she expressed interest in having me as liaison for that committee.
Okay.
So I just wanted to put that out there. It's something I'd be happy to do. Yeah.
Okay. I'm fine with that. Anybody else? Bill, you okay with
Yeah,
that?
I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay,
I mean,
you're
I
okay.
was sitting in on some of those meetings also.
You still can.
I will.
Christina, yeah, I'm making a deliberate point not to participate or sit in any of those meetings. I don't wanna, in any way, shape, or form, have any kind of, influence over how the recommendations, that's the whole point of it, is to get the public's input and to have that plan to be shaped, because if you're an implementer, the last thing you wanna do is be involved in the developing of the plan. We often say to people, occasionally when they come here and they say, why are you doing something? We say, well, because it was in the adopted plan. And so I want to be able to say that that plan is, free and the influence of the implementation board represents the public's desire. Okay.
I'm not going to go through them all, but anybody that's 26, they're still on that.
Right.
Okay.
Reach out to those members and ask them, do they
The last thing we could get to, I don't want to be here too late tonight, we've heard about saying too late, but can we do the liaison for the committees, so that you can then reach out to the chair of those committees and ask the chair to reach out to the members, right, as we discussed, and find out when vacancies exist. What we'll do is, in my office, we'll put together a master list, and we'll put a notice out to the public, here are the vacancies, if you're interested in joining, send your letter of interest, which can be in the email form. Okay, we already figured out agriculture and open space, specific review, climate smart, well, that's a task force, right? So I don't think we need a raise.
And that group meets with the CAC.
That's a subset of the
Yeah.
CAC, we did some conservation, design review, is there anything we haven't covered here? No, I think that's it. Okay. So that's what we have for annual reorg. Thank you all very much. We have, what is the other business first, which which is really correspondent. I mentioned this earlier. If you have been following along the last 3 or 4 years, the town and the other municipalities, we're a member of the Supervisors and Mayors Association. We've lobbied Albany and our colleagues in Ulster County and other counties to have home rule ability to lower speed limits in our own municipality. Somehow, in this home rule state, DOT decides the speed limit on roads, small town roads. Unless, of course, you live within 15 miles of a municipality with 50,000 population, it's rather convoluted. But needless to say, we were successful less than 2 years ago in getting the legislature to allow town road speed limits to go down to 25. And again, I apologize if I'm repeating myself, but back in the 1980s, the folks who sat at this table said, let's raise the town speed limit to 35, and that's why the town-wide speed limit is 35 miles an hour. And so we have endeavored to try to lower the speed limits in certain suburban subdivision neighborhoods. College Park, Forest Park, we were successful. We made some speed changes, speed limit reductions with DOT's approval. Everything is DOT approval. River Road, 9G, a portion of that. Bud's Corners, we had the help of our county legislator in that effort to slow the speeds down there. That's a county road. So we positioned ourselves to go ahead and do a town-wide engineering study. They are in the middle of that, and they will send us a list of classifications once they get the data collected from the various roadways. They won't do it during the winter because of snow for obvious reasons. And then they will make a presentation to us on a draft application which goes to DOT. Then their engineers review it after we've seen it and approved it. And then they make a decision on that town-wide speed limit application. All to say to manage expectations. You should look for us to have a document summertime. You should look for us to perhaps submit something to the state late summer, early fall, and then the state, which is probably understaffed as it historically has been, would then render a decision sometime in 2027. So I feel hopeful. I always do. We have had enormous success in efforts to reduce where people said we never would. And so I maintain that optimism, but it will take time.
And is there a study available for what happened in Forest Park?
Yeah, so I'll send you what documentation we have. It's been a few years. I think we got approval for that. We got verbal approval, then we got written approval. It literally took 6 months just to get a piece of paper that says we approve.
Because in the interim, I'd be interested in looking at what that looked like, what we submitted to lower it in Forest Park. And was there another neighborhood?
We did Forest Park, College Park. We did it as a joint application.
Okay.
Because they were similar. You know, they're neighborhoods with a lot of stubby, short roads. So it didn't require the kind of analysis necessarily that this will, because you've got connector roads, collector roads, you've got that type of thing.
Isn't the issue of this something like AOT? It's the kind of thing AOT would...
We continue to lobby for.
Yeah, so that's the beauty of that organization.
If you see your state representatives, just ask them, please,
Yeah.
to give us home rule authority. We know our roads. And we want our roads to be safe, but we also want them to be used. For example, Forest Park is a great example of a place where kids should be able to ride their bike on a road. It's a suburban subdivision, and it's ideal for that. And so there's no reason why anybody needs to go 35 on tiny little roads.
We need a four-way stop on Wells Back and Rockefeller and Bud Corners. You know what I'm talking about? At the Steiner Farm?
Yes. Yes, I've been in touch with I've been in touch with the county for years on that intersection. They are going to make improvements, what they call improvements to that intersection, I'm told.
Right.
And I will let you know when they are being installed.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, last but not least, we have, we discussed in attorney-client session, proposed settlements all this to say, I never got to the actual point of the correspondence. We received correspondence from a gentleman who lives on Elm Street requesting that we lower the speed limit. I both wrote to him and spoke with him at length on the phone. He's very happy to hear that we're already on it, and he provided rationale in his argument. He, in his profession, must know something about these and consulted apparently with New York State on these types of matters in a previous life. All right, in attorney-client session, we discussed proposed settlements as it relates to assessments on 2 properties. We have those properties.
It's page 172.
Sorry?
172.
Thank you, Jacob.
So we have to approve those?
Yes, we have to approve those, Kenny, and I appreciate you weren't involved in the discussions or the whatever.
I mean, was this approved by the assessors also?
Yes, this is in consultation with the assessor. It is the town board's role to approve or disapprove of these, so it's a conversation or discussion.
Which page is that on?
172.
172.
Thank you.
Discussion with
Of the final?
Yes.
Of the final. There are 2. One
So we
is
just
a
have to use
property
instruction
initially assessed at
More than one.
172 is a resolution authorizing the settlement. It's a small difference between what was the assessment level 560 and 515. And this is settlement of Article 7 proceeding, Susan Kirchhoff and Helen Young's property. The parcel number is indicated here. That's the settlement as discussed.
So what is separating these 2 properties? What's the precedent here?
Precedent. Folks, you should know if you have a property that you feel is over-assessed or unequally assessed, unfairly assessed, you are encouraged to first reach out to the assessor's office. The assessor, as I mentioned before, is an independently appointed office. And the assessor will take your information and make, in this case, her determination whether or not a change in assessment is warranted and why it would be. If you don't feel that you are happy with that, you should come to grievance day. That's in May. And so that is typically the 4th Tuesday in May. And you will then present hopefully your rationale and your comparables to the assessment review board, and at our next meeting we'll be hopefully reappointing one of them and entertaining additional members to the assessment review board. And if you are not satisfied with they make a determination, then you can take a legal action, which is called, somebody mentioned legal fees here. The town of Red Hook spends funds on legal matters, and so you can take a legal matter.
And that's what they did.
And that's what they did, and the other ones did. And so, oftentimes you are deciding on, you're doing your best to work with the assessor and with the attorneys and the comparables to understand whether or not any adjustment is appropriate, and there's a negotiation that ensues. And so in this case we have resolution number 7.
So we've reduced one, so one is being reduced by 45,000 and one is being reduced by 200,000. But is there, like, does this potentially apply to other properties? Like what was,
It does not.
what was the justification? I'm trying to understand what,
Yeah.
why we assessed them for more than they were ultimately valued for.
Well, you were asking a rather broad question, but the assessor, anytime a property, for example, transacts, anytime a property is enhanced, anytime the community values trend upward, an assessment level can change. And so there are various reasons why a property is assessed for what it is. A discussion happens with the attorneys and with the input of the assessor on the property and why it should or should not be adjusted, and then a negotiation ensues. And in this case, looking at comparables, they felt that this was a fair settlement.
Right.
And so that's why we have, in this case, it's a reduction of about 8%, and I think in the other one, it's perhaps similarly.
It's about 10% on the other one, a little over.
Yeah, it's about 10% in the other one.
Christina, when it comes to values, it's not black and white. It's
For
a
sure.
gray area. I mean, I've dealt with a lot of appraisals, with conservation easements, and there's always a gray area, so it's, and I'm sure they got comps to look at other homes or, size of, lots, and that's what they had to do. I mean, they paid money to, they had to pay somebody to do this.
And I'll just tell you on the second one, just to give you an example, Christina, is on the second one, the settlement level is essentially what that property was purchased for during the period of time where it's to be valued.
And that's kind of, that's the basis of my question is not why these two folks argued to have their assessment lowered, but more like, why did we get it wrong? Why were we 10% over? Is this something that, because I mean that's significant. That's a significant amount of money, and
It's that gray area I'm speaking of.
I wouldn't necessarily make the assumption that it's wrong.
Yes, I think that's that's bad to even suggest that. When you are trying to value a property, this is a good example of the property. This was owned by Mary Godesky for decades and decades and decades. So you have no idea what, for example, the condition, even though it's in the property card, of the house, like how much work does the house need? So you go and you look at this large property with, over 100 acres of unprotected land, and so you think it's got to be worth tons of money. But then if it gets put on the market, as you know, because you're involved in real estate heavily, the market is what the market is. It's not what the assessor says the value is. The assessor does its best to look at comparable situations and place that assessment level on. Oftentimes, when either townwide reevaluations or when a property transacts, you get a better sense of, Another example is a house that I think you were involved in a project over on Garden Street there. A nice, beautiful extension, right? For Will and Katie, right? That property was purchased like 300 something thousand, just 5 or 6, right?
of course.
Big improvement, right? So how does an assessor, you figure out, you go the square foot, you look at the condition of that improvement, da-da-da-da. I would bet that house was not assessed for the $1.4 million that it got when it sold this year. That little brick house on Garden Street with that big addition.
How many of these do we get in a year?
It all depends. It all
We
depends.
do get them every
We
year.
do,
We
we
do.
get them every year.
Yeah.
We get more than one and less than 10. What, less than 50?
Less than 50, that's fair.
So,
But
in
anybody,
this case-
anybody can file one,
yeah,
For sure.
and it's something, it's a part of the process of what we have to do.
yeah. And in this case, it's a really good, you know, in that second one, that larger one, it's a good example. The purchasers reported, you know, being surprised at how much work the condition of the house, and I can attest, and I'm sure you can, you're involved in this business.
I feel if
houses.
Cheryl is okay with this,
Well,
I make a motion
it's
that
not,
we-
it's not always the case that the
Well, whatever.
assessors write the report, but, you know, you have to.
I would make a
you have to
motion
assess.
to accept these.
All right, well, let's, Penny, I would
One at a
embrace
time.
that.
One at a time.
But we have resolution number 7, authorizing Article 7, settlement, reducing property with the 767,017 from 560,500 to 515,000. And Kenny moved that resolution.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's 5 ayes, okay. This other property, which is parcel number ending in 215-250, currently assessed for $2,185,100, reduced to $1,965,000.
The names on both of those are the same.
Oh, there was a typo, should have been corrected.
Corrected in the current, I think, correct?
Oh, my copy is fine, it's correct.
That has been corrected, thank you, Rich. That was in yesterday's.
It's different on what I'm looking at.
Yeah, they corrected it.
Yeah, there was a typo there, and that typo was corrected, yep. The resolution we use as a template. We use templates, don't we all? Because it makes it easier until we do something like forget to change the name. Okay.
I make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, this is,
8.
your motion is to approve a resolution. Okay, thank you. Perfect. I like that. Further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Folks, it's almost 11 o'clock. I want to thank you for sticking with us again. And once again, to wish you a very healthy and a happy 2026. There's a lot of stuff going on around, many places near and far. There are viruses going around. I hope you get to dodge them. Some of them have not been pretty. But also that you get a chance to take a minute to enjoy where you do live, because it's a very special place. With that being said, good night, everyone.
Make a motion to...
A motion to adjourn the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.